Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Onward VR Master League Season 13, Week 2. My name is NightFiree with 2 E's. I'm joined by my co-caster, Jamie, for a fine afternoon of Onward VRML action. Are you hyped up for this matchup tonight?
Oh, you've got to be. You know, this is a veteran team taking on a newish team to Season 12, and they've already started the season off with a fantastic win against Gladiators, so it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, if you do want to catch that game, I think you can head on over to the Onward_VRML2 video archives and catch that game casted by Nomad. And yeah, I was impressed to see that as well. It's certainly, when you start your season off like that with a win, you end up getting opportunities that maybe you didn't necessarily get in the regular season last season. And I don't know that I've seen BossFight and Imperial fight before, but it is going to be an interesting matchup here to see what Imperial is going to bring to the table and what kind of boss fight we're going to get here this afternoon, because if you remember Week 1 boss fight, they had 2 subs and we're not quite up to maybe the polish that we would expect out of a team like that.
Yes, most definitely, but I'm just looking at this roster that they brought out tonight, and this is A+.
Yeah.
We've got Scooby, 24 Great, Archer, Legil, Radar Head. The boss fight here mean business. They want to set their stamp for this season, and this is how they're going to do it.
It's going to be an exciting matchup and a good test for Imperial. Certainly a big test for them if they are going to be able to kind of bark with the big dogs, so to speak. And boss fight also very much needing to get a good solid win. They need to come back into shape here, and it's an opportunity for them. Sort of maybe a season restart if you think about it. You know, this is now their official season start. That last week, well, they'll just have to forget about that one and put it behind them, right? But regardless, going to be an exciting matchup here this afternoon. We should take a look at our pick bans. That lobby does get close to being full. Coming in from BossFight, we have the Cargo ban, and coming in from Imperial, we have the Downfall ban. We talked a little bit about this before stream, but I'm curious: is this based off of any stats, or is BossFight is BossFight not playing well on Cargo? Is Imperial playing good? You know, what do the stats say, Jamie, about these bans?
Well, looking at the Cargo side at the moment, Cargo for boss fight, they have won that 22 times out of the 41 times that they've played. So just over 50% kind of win ratios. You know, you don't want to take those chances when you've got a side this good. You want to go in and get all those points that you can for that early MMR.
Yeah,
so
true.
not out the realms of why. Well, it's not out there as to why they picked that. And the ban Downfall coming in from Imperial. Again, we're looking at boss fight have played that 46 times, won it 31. They're going to be strong on it.
Yeah.
So you're just not going to want to. They're not going to want to play that, so yeah.
There's also the other sort of, and again, I'm curious to see where we get here with these maps. Where do we go for map number 2? Map 1, I guess we should talk about as well, because that hasn't been revealed yet to the fine folks that have been tuning in here to hear us ramble. It is going to be Quarantine, and you weren't surprised by this map pick, Jamie.
No, BossFight have played this 73 times. They have played an overall amount of rounds, 404 rounds. That is a lot of Quarantine.
Yeah,
they know the pixels better than anyone, probably. 251 of those rounds they've won. So again, just over 60% win ratio. So it was definitely going to be their pick. This is their staple map.
Hopefully Imperial can get their 5th in, and they don't have to dip into the well of subs, because that would sort of be a reverse situation of what we saw with boss fight in Week 1. But we are still waiting for that 5th to hop onto the Imperial side, and then we'll know what that full roster is looking like and how they intend to attack what we sort of are seeing as the A squad from the boss fight side of things. And Quarantine, like you said, boss fights, I mean, and overall, boss fight kind of having the advantage here, I suppose, with 2 map picks being the home team. So really, I mean, it really a test for Imperial. It is going to be a challenge. They do have their 5th, so we can look at their full roster. Over on Imperial, we have Sigmeyer, Nope Not Mikey, Phantom Operator, Typic in Section 1. And even though this team is new in Season 12, you do see some names and faces there that have been around a little longer. and if not by a lot, but still, nonetheless, these, while the team is new, the players are not necessarily fresh to the league, and so let's see what we get. We don't have to wait any longer, Jamie. Round number 1 going to kick off here on map number 1 on Quarantine. Our first objective of the afternoon, going to take us over to the far back west side of this map. What are your thoughts on this objective? I feel that it is a sometimes deceptively hard objective to defend. If you don't have a proper setup, there really are quite a few options to cap with cover.
Yeah, I think it can go one of two ways, really. Either Volk are going to hold that super tight defense, not allow anyone through the crash building or onto the Volk courtyard area and just form a nice line, or they get a little bit too far out there, forget the Archer with an early pick onto Nope, not Mikey in the crash building. That's definitely going to open up this northern approach that we're seeing from BossFight. Not what you want.
I mean, especially with the BossFight spawn, though, and that rotation there from Mikey, maybe a little bit too late. Of course, you can't anticipate that where the enemy is going to spawn. That's kind of the whole element of surprise with your enemy spawn points. But yeah, it just gets a little too casual up there on that second floor. And I think that angle was being held by Archer since the spawn, because that whole team had crossed the street already, and Archer was just sitting there watching and waiting. And so patience and diligently waiting for your opponent do pay off there for BossFight. They get up 5-4, and Radar Head advances up to that west side, but takes a pause as they take a check at their tablet and wait for the rest of this team to eventually form up. I'm curious what their approach is going to look like.
Yeah, BossFight do tend to take this northern approach quite often, a lot on their Quarantine. They do like the rooftop. It's obviously a much older kind of approach because it was more favored due to the fact it was the only one with the rooftop in history before we got the Tippy, great pick onto Radar Head moving around on the crash building, basically where Mikey died there. So kind of a little bit of irony there, I guess, somewhere.
Yeah. Tippic's angle too. I don't know if you saw that. They didn't take over the ramp. They were looking under the ramp, underneath the awning there, a very small slice that they end up catching radar moving through. So very nice angle use there. And if they had been any higher, I think Gray could have even potentially found the refrag. So, maybe the difference in what you'd see out of a new team, where they maybe go hunting for that kill in a different way, and in a team that's experienced and understands the risk of peeking out and taking shots. Imperial now managing to tie things up. It definitely changes the energy here, and Imperial, I mean, for them to be even I like that they're staying disciplined right now.
Yeah, they are holding their angles well, and they haven't really moved. You've got Sigma kind of covering the back end here. So I don't know. BossFight probably not going to see him, at least one person as they cross. So he's going to get a pick off from that probably, and it's not really a common spot. And then you've got Tippy covering basically the objective from using that tight angle that you were talking about there, and then you do have Section 1 kind of providing more cover from the gas station but into the Vault courtyard. So it's pretty well fortified, this approach at the moment. So BossFight going to need this heavy artillery that they've got that they're bringing in now for this attack. So I think it's going to come to a head shortly.
The one weakness maybe is a good smoke wall applied could deny vision on some of those longer defensive angles, some of those players a little bit further away from the objective. Tippik does go down and smokes. Oh, what an M203 launch from Scooby-Doo on the other side of the fence. I heard it launched behind and thought it was going to be a smoke. I was waiting for the plume to show up. And lo and behold, it's a massive long-range M203 nade that catches out another, and just like that, things are opened up. Now the smokes need to get applied. If BossFight have an accurate kill count, they really could push in on this.
Yeah, and that was an instant kill as well. You don't see many of those with explosions nowadays, and Phantom hadn't been shot, I don't think, unless they got a little bit of fire on when I wasn't watching, but wow, just fantastic. And Legil's just holding this angle, covering Sigma. If he tries and moves back to the objective, he's going to get taken down. Section 1 has made a good rotation back onto the objective without being seen, I think. And he's going to try and take Tipic's spot. May or may not work out in his favor, as obviously Tipic went down there, so they know how to take out somebody sitting there. And this BossFight are just kind of circling around the objective, seeing what they can take out, and then they're going to slowly move in. 1 minute 10 remaining, and it's going to come in very, very shortly.
Sigmar absolutely suppressed by Scooby here, but again, they're doing well to battle and not overextend. Even when they're being shot at, they're still staying tucked in. They're really trusting in the duo here in Section 1 and each other, Sigmar and Section 1, to hold and defend the objective properly. Now Section 1 hearing footsteps on this side. Smokes are going to come in. Section 1's going to apply pressure off the smoke, advance forward up past Scooby-Doo, and Scooby-Doo's there for the trade. Sigmar, meanwhile, catches another on their side, and it's into a 1v2, but there's the pickup. 24 Gray does find the kill. BossFight not able to push up to the objective, but with 2 left alive, they take their Marsoc round. And I don't know, that's a pretty impressive Imperial defense in my mind, up against what we are saying is the cream of the crop BossFight. For them to be able to hold it like that, I'm curious to see what we get the rest of this series right now. That's definitely piqued my interest, Jamie.
Yeah, and it is tough. I don't, you can't not talk about that. I've personally been in the on this map against this team when they're on form like this with a strong side, and you do feel that pressure and the anxiety of when that attack coming in, and when it does start coming in, you get that paranoia of where are they? You've got bullets flying everywhere. They're getting great shots like the M203. They use equipment. They know how to use it. So you do feel that fear. So really well played to Imperial there for holding that down and not rushing around, getting picked out in the open, just holding the positions and doing what they needed to do. And at the end of the day, they saved the cap really and not allowing it to happen. So, that's always a tough battle in its own against BossFight.
Yes, indeed. And so far, BossFight starting off things just how they want to. It's not exactly what you need if you are Imperial. Momentum, a big element in a game like this, and BossFight no stranger to using that momentum and really steamrolling map wins. And so we'll have to see how things go. Again, it seemed like a good round there for Imperial. They got a couple of kills, and I think that's one of the most important elements there, is that they are fighting back and keeping things somewhat close, even up against a team like BossFight. So we'll have to see what their Marsoc round looks like as we go into the action for round number 2 on map 1.
And we are going to see this far eastern spawn. Objectively, I guess, probably one of the furthest away from the objective. So you're going to have a long run. BossFight are going to be able to get into positions to be able to provide good cover on the objective, which could work against Imperial, but they also get the chance to be able to kind of surround the map. We are seeing them push heavy on the south, push heavy in the center, and then Tipic bringing up the rear in the northeast, coming round. So we are going to see kind of these guys surround the objective and probably just hail it with gunfire, really.
So far, a pretty uncontested advancement up along the south side. Section 1 also managing to get pretty far forward up through the center. You can see that BossFight aren't taking that route. Gray ends up tucking in over there on that bottom floor. Doesn't advance up to the top floor. Maybe trying to learn from the mistakes of their opponents, or simply aware of that potential risk of advancing up onto that second floor. Either way, this is a very different approach than BossFight. BossFight stacked the northwest and came in together as a squad there. This is looking like an effort to fully encircle the objective here and approach it from all angles, south, north, and up from that center side. So we'll have to see what the overall the actual approach looks like when they are supposed to coordinate and push in. That's the real test of a team and how well they've practiced and trained together. And so I imagine that won't happen for a few more minutes. They're going to want that far north attacker to eventually get closer up into the buildings, closer to contesting the likes of 24 Gray, and then maybe we'll see some movement around the south side. But for now, it's all just a bit of posturing and trying to assess, analyzing if there are any aggressive defenders on that second story or where they could possibly be. And again, it's going to be a bunch of late angles for the most part from BossFight. Archer does take some shots downing a drone. And after they take those shots, you can hear they radioed in, killed the drone, and now I'm moving. So try to deny that information that the drone is gained and adjust their position.
Yeah, and this defense from BossFight, pretty much similar to kind of how Imperial defended that last one themselves. So some slight variations where we've got 2 on the crash building. But otherwise, very similar. We can see a laser now from Sigma over by where Archer is. He hasn't moved too far from where he got spotted by the drone. So Imperial should be fully aware of some positioning there, but I think he might just be slightly covered there. And like you say, the Imperial are just getting ready to kind of surround the objective. Tippett may have a bit of a struggle there in the north as he pushes through, due to the fact that there is 2 in the crash building. So he's going to require the backup from his teammates over in the south to be able to create that distraction, start getting the picks, so those guys need to move in. And like you say, it is a test for a team, especially on quarantine, to get that communication, get that cohesion, to be able to coordinate the attack and get the kills or the cap.
Radar Head likely could run into some action here soon enough as Tippett looking to approach out of the doorway that Radar has been holding for the entirety of this round. 3.5 minutes now they've been dialed in here, and we'll see if they drop off or maintain their angle and find this kill. They're going to hold, but they can't quite connect their shots onto Tippett. Tippett able to, I think, using that dark tunnel there, Radar just couldn't quite identify exactly the body of Tippett, and fortunate enough that none of those bullets connect. I think Gray also took shots while that was happening, and so now both of these defenders' positions given away inside the rubble.
Yeah, and that's going to be key information. We're coming into the final 2 minutes now of the round, and this is where the attack needs to start happening, or the picks need to start happening to enable the attack. So Tippett was very lucky that he didn't go down there. You say maybe the pixels or I think the doorway probably kind of provided a little bit of cover there, so he can approach now closer and closer towards Radar Head, gonna know where he is, so gonna try, and that's a good smoke really, denying that vision there for Radar Head. That is great, straight through the window as well. So it's going to allow him to be able to move around. Radar Head having to rotate himself, leaving this portion of the building, which is going to allow Tippett to push up closer and closer to the objective, and he's going to get in a dangerous position on the back side of this bolt defense where he can probably take a few out. Tries to get Radar Head, not quite able to land the gunshot. Radar Head pushes down and does take him out. Whilst all that's going on, Archer also takes out Sigma, and Imperial down to 3 and with 1 minute remaining.
Up to this middle push now. Section 1 has to advance forward, and they still haven't managed to connect on a kill. Lego is there in the window. He'll find another. Section 1 goes down. Phantom Operator tries to advance forward, and Archer's watching Lego. Just like that, the crosshatch comes to fruition, and with 30 seconds left, Imperial are alone with Nope Not Mikey as their only player left to try and put this together. They know Lego's at that window. They missed the shots. Now Mikey's position is identified. Archer starts to swing wide, and Mikey's going to drop off. But the clock is ticking down. The second floor defender there from Radar does finally catch the kill, and BossFight put up an ace against Imperial without losing a single defender. And now their lead goes up 2-0, and now you start to worry about that momentum we were talking about.
Yeah, you don't want to allow a team like that to get that momentum and just be able and just start steamrolling through things, because it does carry on. So, but on the flip side, if you put a stop to it and a resounding kind of stop to it, it definitely goes against them as well. So we're going to be wanting to see Imperial here on this next defense. Obviously, getting just basically putting a stop to that momentum. It is going to be the crash building objective, which should be a little bit easier to defend. But against a team like BossFight, it's tough. You know, the M203 is going to be coming out, and we look at the kills. Scooby-Doo with 2, 24 Grey with a kill, Archer with 3, Legil with 2, Radar Head with 2. They're all doing their bit. They're all putting in work. It's no one player that's, you know, truly excelling.
Yeah.
And this is where the where you know it works against you, I guess.
Solid bit of gameplay here from BossFight, though, up 2-0 now, and no kills secured there. That's a much harder pill to swallow than their last round, which was looking much closer. Maybe just not their ideal objective. We don't exactly change a whole lot. I mean, obviously, the position here of this objective very different than the one that we just had. Plenty of different cap opportunities present here, but it's still on this side of the map, and you still kind of have to approach it in a similar fashion where you do have to take control of, you know, one of the sides and advance from that side. And it looks like BossFight are going to get that quick south spawn. They really have an option to go right on top of this defense and challenge this objective out the gate here. We'll have to see what we get as we go into round number 3 on map 1. BossFight leading heartily now, but we'll see if Imperial can bounce back.
Yeah, they are going to get the stealth spot, and that's not really what you want to do. They're known for being able to get those quick shots. They were already just taking them. They know the pre-fire lanes, and they're going to get those early picks if you allow them. We saw it in the very first round. Archer got a fantastic pick. So Imperial really need to get to their defensive spots early, and it's always a struggle when Marsok are already instantly on you at the beginning, because you just sometimes have to pick a spot and hope it works, and that's part of the game, I guess. Not allowing Volk to be able to get to their spots, but not going to happen for Imperial. They have surrounded the objective quite nicely, I would say. So BossFight are going to have to try and cross this south road, which is pretty heavily guarded, I think.
A couple of well-placed smokes, though. A nice 1-2 that do cover this street well and allow Radar to eventually cross and get over into that center rubble. Stigmeyer is waiting on a very late angle. Won't be until Radar Head pops out of this rubble that they'll be able to find those shots. Or I guess if Radar continues on this path here, Stigmeyer may very well be able to find the head of Radar. But I imagine Radar will be cautious of that potential position. It's not a uncommon spot to be taken. And they're going to go for the cross. The shots do get taken. They don't connect, though. Radar gains information. And Sigmeyer does a bit of a movement up, trying to get even more aggressive. You hear some flashes coming in from Sig, but they're not going to connect onto Radar. And if they continue to get aggressive here, Radar very well could find a pick. Tipic also doing a bit of rotation, and wow, that's a great angle from Radar. They're taken over into a very common corner defensive position.
Yeah, I'm just watching Radar Head's laser, and it does keep somewhat connecting with Sigmeyer, but obviously just can't quite see him. And so Sigmeyer's got to hold this position where he is and just stay in tight. But if Radar Head knows where he is, one well-placed grenade, an M203 again coming out, and we could see Sigmeyer's position compromised there, and it does open up the push into the front of the objective. And like you said earlier, you could definitely get the cap from the outside of the building there. So I think that's probably what BossFight going to be attempting to do here in the M203, but nothing land anywhere. Legil with a pick onto Phantom Operator as he's coming around on the back side of the objective just to split up this Vault defense. And it's not looking great right now for Imperial if he's able to kind of push on, as they're going to have to cover from both sides, and you don't want to be doing that on an open objective like this.
No, especially puts the position like Sigmeyer into some very dangerous water if they have their back open to Legel here, and so we'll have to see how Legel does this as Sigmeyer stays tucked in. Scooby does try and fly the corner, and Sigmeyer very patiently waits for that and movement and catches the kill. Now Radar is going to try their hand at it. Sigmeyer has one hand on the gun, one on the radio, and is able to get the shots as they radio in information. Radar was trying to capitalize on that lack of ability to two-hand a gun while they're calming, and instead can't quite get that kill they need. Just like that, we're into a 3v3, and we're seeing some big rotations coming in. Section 1 does catch the kill onto Archer up through the center. That's a big one because Nope Not Mikey very well could have gone down on the cross from that angle. So now it's going to come down to Legel and Gray from the north. And they're very close to objective. It's a very viable spot to contest from. In fact, if Lego pushes up on the top floor, they very well could cap up on that second story.
Yeah, Imperial have done well to kind of turn this around and put a stop to that central attack, but they do need to be fully aware of Legil's position at the moment. He stayed very quiet, apart from the odd gunshot he made at the start of his movement on that position. So, and you can see how slow he is moving here. 24 Grey bringing up the rear there, providing a little bit of backup, and we've got 1 minute 30.
Wow.
It's getting closer and closer.
Lego doesn't take the shots. Typic, if they go back to the old angle they were holding, could have a line on the Lego. But right now, Lego is completely stealthing their way up to the second floor. They're very much moving in for the cap, and Typic is there to shut that down. Nope, can't catch Gray. Gray is up onto the second floor. He's tucking into the tight corner, and Typic is there to contest. You can see also Mikey flying onto the outside to have that angle, and they definitely were going to deny that cap, but I like to see the attempt from BossFight there. Either way, good moves from Imperial to shut that down, maintain their strength on objective, and finally get a point on the board.
Yeah, they turned around that round really well. It started off like the BossFight was surrounding Sigmire there in the center. He definitely was the MVP for that. You know, he put up a tough defense in there and got that amazing kill onto Radar Head with one hand. You know, I think the cap from Legil was definitely looking likely up until the point when 24 Grey may have took some shots onto Nope Not Mikey at the back there as he was moving around, which then Tippy did start looking up at that point. I think if there was a bit of composure there, then potentially the cap definitely would have come out. And with BossFight being 2 points ahead, that would have certainly ended this map really quickly.
Yeah. Indeed, it would have. And I think that's what they were going for, obviously, right? They just wanted to lock in this map, really shut down Imperial on BossFight's map pick here on map 1. But instead, Imperial stay alive. We go back to that objective, and Imperial have their opportunity to attack. And again, this is, I would say, one of the more capable OBJs on Quarantine because of the options you have. You know, up on that second floor, out on the outside of the wall, inside, if you can clear that. You know, there are so many options. And so I wonder if Imperial have that on their mind, or if they're simply looking to just find some picks and then go from there. We'll have to see where their Marsoc spawn is, really, because that determines what kind of pacing you get out the gate.
Yeah, definitely, and I think this point against BossFight there will have put a stop to that momentum, or, you know, just put a slight damper on any kind of forcefulness they were going to probably show for the rest of this map. So, and Imperial have been given a great spawn themselves, really, far northeast. It's they should be able to kind of deny a few positions for BossFight if they try coming out on the outside here. So, and they're going to be on the objective real quick.
Yeah, it's a similar sort of, I guess, quick spawn in a sense to that of the south. A little bit farther away, obviously, but you have a lot of this ground that you can work up through. And you can see that BossFight are no strangers to this spawn. Lego has pushed up here and is hunting for an early pick. They're going to be taking some shots. They're going to identify that spawn, and they're going to find a kill. But already suppressive fire comes down onto the objective. Sigmire finds another, and they have no control of the north now. So they've gotten rid of the two north defenders, and like you said, they're going to have a great angle down onto the objective. And actually, it's interesting where BossFight are defending. I wonder if Radar is just going to try and get aggressive here and counter with some aggression, because they are far away from the objective.
Yeah, this could work against them. Oh, 24 Grey's gone down. Archer's got to push in. Radar Head's very far off the objective. This is a great attack from Imperial. Nice shock and all strategy, really. They got those two early picks. Radar Head does take out Nope Not Mikey, but he's still far away. He's got to push in. Archer with a great defense, now covering from where Imperial are pushing from. You need a quick rotation now to get round behind the objective. If they can get one person in that building, then the cap will be there, and then they will be looking good for this last round.
Absolute chaos here. Radar has to reload, drops down in. They're going to pop up and look for the double. They catch one. Tipic's able to find the headshot. Archer still on objective now, rotating furiously as Tipic finds themselves into a 1v1. We could very well see another point here for Imperial, but it's going to come down to who comes out on top here on this objective battle. 4 minutes left. A lot of time on the clock here.
Wow, it was just all over in about 30 seconds.
Hmm.
If Tippett can make the same kind of movements that Legil was doing in the last round, then he could be on for the cap here. Archer's got a lot of ground to cover. Like you said, there's so many angles where somebody could be coming from, and as he's moving around here, it
Oh,
only takes 2 seconds. Coming out, Tippett just behind that crate, just behind that pallet, not able to be seen by Archer, so he's going to live for a few seconds longer as Archer just holds a position now in the very top of the building, hoping that nobody pushes round. And I think Tippett's probably just listening to the
yeah.
movements and trying to work out the rhythm of his of where Archer's going.
Oh,
Oh,
Tippett flies out, takes the fall damage. That's a loud giveaway on position. How does Archer react? They fly out of the window, and Tippett connects with the shots first. They take the round. Imperial have tied BossFight on their map pick, 2-2 here. I mean, look at the KDs. Big standout shooting here from Tippett and Sigmar. 5-3, 4-4, 3-3 from Section 1. Similar spread, but a little bit more so spread out on BossFight's side. So, I mean, crazy round, Jamie.
yeah, I mean, like the KD feed kind of somewhat similar. It was just a great attack from Imperial from the get-go, really. They did so well to command the north, surround the objective, and get those picks onto Legil and Scooby, and then be able to just own that northern side and slowly come in on the objective. This is, you know, their momentum is now starting, and you've got to wonder if BossFight are starting to kind of second guess a few things now. They started off strong, probably got a little bit overconfident maybe as they go into the few rounds, but Imperial staying so calm at the moment and just going with the rounds. It's great to see. They're now going into a vault defense. It is the far east objective, so that one is kind of easier of all of them to defend, you know, where you've got the motel, you've got the south, so they could be looking really good for this next one.
It's interesting the rotation Radar took there as well. I think if they had been either a little faster or instead decided to go up onto the roof of the AC building, they really could have ended that round. Radar had a few opportunities as well too. That rotation from them nearly did get them a double kill and secure that point for BossFight, but crazy aggression, really. To be so far away from objective and going for those kills, it almost really does pay off. But in the end, the 1v1 and the true test ends up with Imperial in the points. And now, like you said, we go to a defensible objective for Imperial, and we'll see if they can maybe take a lead against BossFight here.
Indeed, but we can't forget, the pre-fire coming out from Archer. Not going to land their shots, so we are going to see Phantom Operator pushing over into the south, and it's a very common position, really. Get one in the south, one in the center, one or two in the motel. Radar Head showing a bit more aggression again, pushing up, going straight through the center.
Wow.
He could come straight into the sights of Section 1.
And I wonder if Section 1 will really be ready for this, because you very well could assume that this is your teammate at this stage, especially with how Tippett is moving. That could provide a bit of a misunderstanding of audio here in Section 1. Well, they're holding a very late angle. It should be, in theory, they should be shooting at the back of Radar Head as Radar pushes up here, but we'll have to see if Radar clears this tight corner or not, and how patient Section 1 remains. How silent Radar stays. But yeah, Radar definitely seeming to be the aggressor here for a BossFight this afternoon.
Yeah, these aggressive plays, I think sometimes you do need to just throw them into the equation so you can't quite truly pinpoint how a team is going to play. And Section 1 just holding his angle super quiet. Radar Head not even aware of this, so Section 1 able to capitalize while he's looking away and get the pick, putting a stop to this central approach. And BossFight very quickly down to 4, and we've got the 2-2 split, 2 coming from the north, 2 coming from the south. So they're going to be looking again to kind of surround the objective, which you do see a lot from this team. They're very good with that cohesion and talking to each other and getting into those positions, and they do use that to a great effect. But I think Imperial now are going to be feeling really confident with those points on the board. That they are important. Even just one, you know, it just keeps you going, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And now to kick things off with a kill, I mean, you can focus differently when you
Yeah.
are when you don't have the pressure of the deficit, when you don't have the pressure of rounds being lost over and over again, and it is really a lot of a big bonus here to Imperial right now as we are into this 5th round, into the middle of map 1. But BossFight again are no strangers to this, right? They've been tested with adversity from much more experienced teams. I won't say better, but teams with a lot more seasons under their belt and even championships, and they understand how to battle against adversity. I think at this stage in their career as a team, and to the point, this is kind of their A team. So I do anticipate some good moves from them, but there's a nice swing from Phantom. Flies around the corner after hearing movement on that side and surprises the attacker from BossFight. Another kill, and now it's 5-3.
Yeah, the tough one when you are playing against a team like Imperial that are somewhat newer as a team, it's the positioning that they'll have. 24 Grey will get a good pick onto Sigmire in the motel, but there's still one there, and if they're not expecting a second in there, then Nope Not Mikey could get quite a few here and put a stop down to the northern approach. But yeah, you got Phantom Operator moving around into positions that you otherwise wouldn't expect. He's moving around as well, like I guess just kind of like a player that knows what he's doing, if you know what I mean. It's like, you know, he hasn't stayed in that one position. Legil can't truly pinpoint exactly where he is. So it's good just to see from this side, being, I guess, newer to the league as a team.
Yeah, Imperial definitely bringing that focus here, and Lego on the hunt for this final defender, and they're going to find Phantom. What a great snapshot from Lego as soon as they saw the movement there. Instantly drawn on, instantly land their target, land their shots. Very nice job of defending that side. We're going to have to stay split again because Scooby has got past Mikey, at least up to the rock.
Yeah, I've just been watching Nope Not Mikey. He's holding this position well, but he has got the problem of 24 Grey being on the opposite side of Scooby. So if he kind of peeks one corner, it could be exposed from another. 24 Grey tries to make a cross, not able to. Nope Not Mikey looks at the right time. Scooby using this confusion to push in, though. He will get around the side of Nope Not Mikey and be able to just watch in on the objective and potentially take out Section and Tipic as they move in. Legil also, I think, has he gone down now? Yeah, oh, he went down. So it is just Scooby. It's going to be a tough one, I guess, for him to push in on his own. He's just got to hope that he can use kind of the fact that he is getting picks and take people out as they move in.
Yeah, 30 seconds left. He could capitalize on some excessive rotations here from the team, but it's also 30 seconds left, so he does have to push onto the other side of this building. Another bit of utility comes in towards Mikey. I think that was another smoke. And Mikey calling out the footsteps. Scooby has to push out into the open. They find one. Section 1's up next on the hit list. Scooby has the tablet out. They do. They're looking for the cap, and that's a little bit overzealous. Section 1 still alive and waiting for the approach. Certainly a good, again, snap turn there to hit Nope Not Mikey up on the second floor, but they were downed as well, so they were calling out information to their team, and Imperial play a nice patient defensive round and take the lead against BossFight 3-2.
It was a fantastic snapshot, that was. I genuinely thought that he was going to go down on that cross, but no. He got this snap turn, unfortunately, though, for BossFight. Not going to help them with that, and like I say, Imperial taking the lead. Going to be feeling fantastic on this attack now. And technically all they need to do, even if they don't get this one, is just hold their next vault defense. So they're going to be feeling that, and potentially, you know, knowing that they could end up taking BossFight's map and then go into their own map pick and try and take it to them there. It'd definitely be an upset, you know.
No kidding.
But BossFight themselves, though, are still looking like a very different team than last week when we saw
Yeah.
them play No Fun Intended. You know, they're a lot more focused, they're a lot more in the game, and it's just unfortunate for them that these attacks aren't quite working out. Imperial just holding these nice tight lanes of defense and just waiting for BossFight to come in.
You know, it kind of feels that BossFight are approaching Imperial, as they should, a new team, you know, new to Season 12. Especially with teams in what we've seen so far with teams that have joined in Season 12, they still are, some of them still are missing that cohesion that you really need to defend against all the angles, against certain aggressive rotations. And I think, you know, I feel I see the experienced teams kind of utilize that ability to quick cap against the inexperienced. And, you know, in this case, Imperial have just been ready for those kind of quick approaches. Radar getting shut down there was a big element in denying a potential two-pointer again from BossFight. And now I wonder, with that cap opportunity and the ability to win off of a cap kind of gone for them, if we're going to see maybe a bit more patient team here as they approach and set up for their defensive round in map number 1, round 6.
Yeah, and we are going to see basically the exact same kind of defense coming out from BossFight, and we're seeing this a lot. At least myself on the EU side, these teams they play so similar in how they defend. It's the attacks where they mostly get set apart. The odd defense, you know, there is something there that's just completely different out there. Maybe an aggressive play on a map or something, but otherwise they do remain somewhat similar. Maybe it's the objective and only having a small number of ways of being able to defend it. But yeah, we are seeing these sides very, very similar, and it's got to feel good for Imperial, you know, knowing that you are kind of matched up against BossFight and a team like
Yeah.
that, where you know you're trading these rounds, trading kill for kill, and you know eventually taking that lead.
Well, like we
This is
said,
gonna.
they're being tested, and so far they are not failing. A
Huh?
little bit early to say that they've passed, but they are not failing the test up against BossFight, and you know, we'll have to see what we get here for the rest of this series, because again, I think we may see a bit more of a tightened up BossFight going into these next few rounds, especially with, again, their backs against the wall. They're a team that can battle and can survive with their backs against the wall, and if Imperial aren't ready for that, that's how you can kind of scoop up some rounds and some kills. Been kind of watching Scooby patiently waiting here in the basement. They very well could find Section 1 and Typic, depending on this approach, but Imperial are really playing this one patiently, and we're kind of seeing a shift in pace, aren't we, from Imperial on the offense?
Yeah, it's a lot more reserved, and they're just scanning a lot more areas, and they're a little bit more cautious as well on their approach at the moment. I think you know, the fact that they are 1 point away from taking this first map, really showing they want this. So Section 1 going to be the one to approach onto Scooby Doo's position with a couple smokes there blinding him, so he's going to be his section's going to be able to get across there. Tippik should have a pretty clear route himself unless that smoke dissipates. Scooby's going to be hearing all this, does try to take some shots but not able to land them, and Tippik and Section are going to be getting aggressive in the central area, as I think we are seeing the Imperial attack kind of starting to take form. The northeast is pushing in. They're going to have to deal with the people in the motel, but if Tippik and Section can push in whilst all that's going on and take out Archer on the objective, then they could get their own cap opportunity themselves.
It could indeed. We'll have to see what the approach looks like from Typic in Section 1. You also do have Radar on the 3-story stairs, who is taking occasional peeks and ganders down at those windows at the South Street as well to deny the South Street push. It's a very powerful position, but to your point, not an uncommon one either. And so we'll have to see if Imperial are ready for this kind of ever-rotating Radar head who's on the 3rd story, then drops down to the 2nd, and really doing a good job of keeping their angles keeping a variety of angles held here. But again, we'll have to see if it's anticipated by the likes of Imperial. 2 shots did come in there from Typic down to the basement, but nothing connected.
Yeah, Radar was kind of exposed there to Sigmire, but he's moved into a very nice position there to be able to cover the cover that central push. So Section 1 and Tippy going to have to take him out at least, or Sigmire kind of approach onto the 5-story. But we can see from the attack itself, everyone's kind of got their kind of objectives themselves. Sigma is that 5-story. We've got Phantom Operator, Nope Not Mike. You've got to take out people in the motel, and then it's obviously down to Section and Tippy to take out Archer, with Scooby kind of being off the objective a little bit there. And you can see the planning has happened. Archer, though, providing some good cover for Radar Head over in the south, and does take out Sigmire. So Radar Head's going to be very safe up there. Tippy does become the victor between him and Scooby-Doo, though. So this central push could get in. It's going to require some smokes, but it's not out the realms of possibility if they've been practicing these smokes. It's still going to be a hard one to get through Archer and Radar. One smoke does come out from Tippy from the basement there. In the area, Archer moves down to the bottom of the 2-story. Radar Head takes out Section as he's pushing in, so Tippy tries to take shots, ignores that, pushes in, isn't able to get Archer, tries going in for the quick cap, not able to succeed. Archer gets the kill there. Legil takes out Nope Not Mikey in the northeast, and very quickly we are now down to Phantom Operator as the sole attacker takes out Legil, and he's got 24... 30 seconds. It's going to be a hard push. He's got to get past 24 gray still, though, and 25 seconds now. It's looking like BossFight could take this point.
Yep, we'll have to see what we get from Phantom here. 15 seconds left on the cross. Radar, do they detect? Phantom, Radar goes down. That's one pickup. Gray should tuck in at this stage with 9 seconds left, but they're going to look for that kill. They don't connect, and the clock is going to tick away. Archer will be able to tuck in, and Gray actually ends up trading for the final kill, but you can hear the comms there from Archer that the time was going to give them the win anyway, and BossFight do get back on the board. After 3 unanswered points, they finally managed to tie this thing up again with their backs against the wall, albeit it comes down to a 1v1. Or I guess a 1v2, but still a solid hold from them up against Imperial, and looks like maybe we had a disconnect. I don't think that was while they were alive. I don't think we had anyone drop while they were alive in that push from Imperial, but hopefully we'll have that reconnect back in, and we'll be diving in to round 7. Doesn't look like it's a sub. Sigmire is back, and yeah, they went down to those shots from across the map from the stairs, so they weren't impacted by that drop. At least I don't think so. Hopefully everything is back in order, and I guess we'll have to see what we get in round 7. Where's this objective? Oh, it's going to be, wow, still on this side. I mean, I kind of torn on this. I'm a 50-50 on this objective in terms of it being easy to defend or easy to cap.
Yeah, I don't know. One could argue it's not any different to the one that we just had, although it's a lot more out in the open. But I think with Volk having to have more of a forward defense and also completely cover the back of the objective also, it definitely adds an extra challenge to it. But these rounds between these teams, they've more commonly than not been coming down to these 1v1s, 1v2 situations. For all intents and purposes, these teams are even tonight, and that's got to feel good for Imperial, knowing what side BossFight have brought out for this match.
Yeah, you have to tap into that feeling if you are Imperial, because even if you end up losing this map, you have to go into your map pick with some confidence and some energy that you did this well on BossFight's preferred map, Quarantine. It really has me interested on what we get for map 2 and what that scoreline will end up looking like, because BossFight really having to fight for every round here that they've earned, and they now go on the attack on this objective, and like you said, it kind of lends itself into the defensive hands more so than offense, but Imperial does have a little bit of that inexperience, being in comparison to BossFight. Obviously inexperience is relative, I suppose, because they've been playing for months or potentially years at this point. But BossFight have literally been around since the inception of the league and the start of this game, albeit not all of their players have. Some of them have. And so it's really a test of, I suppose, some new blood versus the old at this stage. But either way, it's certainly an exciting battle to behold and a very close back and forth. We should be getting into our final round shortly. It does look like, however, BossFight are having some technical issues on their side, so we need to reconnect on their end. Either way, Jamie, this is certainly delivering as a high-level EU battle.
Yeah, it really is. This is kind of reminiscent of the days, you know, when you're watching BossFight play teams like Beginners and teams like that.
Oh.
It's fantastic to see from both sides, and you know, BossFight obviously do have a good roster, and they have bought. We keep saying it, they have bought this A team, and for Imperial, that's also got to feel good because you know BossFight are taking it that serious, and they are concerned that they have bought their A-list players. Sometimes teams may take other players who probably haven't had much play time this season if you think it's going to be a lower ranked team or whatnot. So, but BossFight obviously not done that. So Imperial got that confidence boost from there. And they're going to be feeling confident for this one going in for Evoke defense, and it's just fantastic to see from this side. And yeah, the kills on both sides also really similar. Archer having 7, Radar having 6, 24 Grey 3, Scooby 3, but then you got Nope Not Mikey with 2, Phantom Operator with 4, Tippy with 6, Section with 6. Sigma definitely had a few himself, obviously Disconnect. So everyone's putting the work in, they're getting the kills, they're getting the refrags. Personally, I hope on the next map we go to a smaller one because it'll definitely bring even more variation to it, and it'll be really good to see.
Yeah, it's especially with that cargo ban, it certainly does turn. It is about time to start thinking about that map too, and where do we think Imperial is going to take it? I mean, what do the stats say? Well, we have this break, Jamie. I'm curious what Imperial's Season 12 stats have showing for them in terms of their preferred map, because maybe it is going to take us to a place like Subway, Suburbia on the table, and plenty of very close quarters maps that could change the style of play drastically.
Yeah, in Season 12, they did only get to play one game. That was against Silent Purge. Yeah. Their map pick against Silent Purge was Suburbia. And they also, I think, played Tanker against Gladiators last week when they played, and they did come out on top of that one. So I'm thinking they're going to try Tanker against BossFight. It wasn't played too much, I think. I don't think it was played too much last season at all either. So it's definitely going to be one of those maps that they, as a newer team, may be thinking, hey, BossFight may have not played this as much as they played Suburbia, and that's the last small map. But maybe we could even see a Snow Peak come out, which I don't know if would be good against a team like BossFight, because they have played Snow Peak a lot, and I know they do perform well on it, and it's kind of similar to Quarantine. So Tanker would be my kind of guess at the next map.
Very interesting. Trying to get the info here. We very well could be into a timeout at this stage, which would be also an interesting use of the timeout. If there's ever a case for it. First map, 3-3.
Yeah.
Try and do a little reset. It certainly makes sense, but neither team has given me an indicator that they've called a timeout. So, at least for us here on the desk, there is a bit of uncertainty if we are going to be waiting for, who knows, potentially 5 to 10 minutes longer before these teams ready up and get into the action. I guess it's a moment to shout out some fine folks that have been hanging out in chat. We have the Gentleman Tea Party, Lonely Viper, Ponoscat, Sri Lankan VR, Wolf in the Night VR, Daddy Spartan VR, I think I said Folan VR, Verse to Sonder. We really appreciate everyone that has been stopping by and chatting and hanging out and enjoying what is a very good battle back and forth. I think this is delivering more than I anticipated, but if you do look at the connoisseur votes, They were relatively split. You know, there really wasn't a favorite out of the votes for these teams, and that's kind of surprising considering the history in the rank. 17 for Imperial, 31 for BossFight. So I suppose BossFight did have the majority, but oftentimes you see the disparity a little bit more severe, like 45-5 or 30-1 in the case of Gladiators versus Berserk, which is going on right now. But yeah, an interesting spread on the votes here, and not something you see very often. So an indicator out the gate there that this was going to be a good matchup because the community didn't know who was going to be coming out on top here. And that's not to say that those votes that the connoisseurs are always right, but it is kind of fun to look at and observe what the folks that do vote are thinking on who is going to come out on top. And Jamie, do you partake in the connoisseur voting system these days?
I keep my eye on it. I try not to personally show any sway towards any team, really. You know, I do keep an eye on it, but you know, I think everyone deep down has an idea when they look at a game at who potentially would probably be seen as the victor, or if it's going to be a blowout.
At least in the early weeks, I can understand that. I think as we get deeper into the season, those decisions become harder. Right, especially as you get those closer and more even matchups at overall rank. But even now, with week 2, with how the system works, you still do get good matchups after we've been through 12 seasons of regular gameplay. So, not surprising to see this good of a battle, but I think we are into a timeout. I think we are going to go to a brief intermission. When we come back, it'll be map number 1, round 7. So don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss the finale of our first map here in the series. Welcome back, everybody. We have returned for map number 1, round number 7, Imperial versus BossFight, the round decider. Coming at you right now, and appreciate you all patiently waiting as we did sort out some technical difficulties, but everything seems to be in order. There's no subs or anything unorthodox like that. Everyone the same roster as we've had, and so we'll have to see if BossFight can put together a round win on Marsoc, or if Imperial will be able to pull off an upset here and get themselves a nice map lead. It's still up for debate, really, Jamie.
That it is, and Radar watching him right now, he's a lot more reserved than he has been in these past few rounds. You know, he's definitely not trying to make any mad crosses at the moment. He's truly scanning this central area. And it's definitely something that Imperial are going to have to be aware of, is that central push. As if somebody can get through the back of that center building, and the attacker is going to be protected by the kind of stone wall just behind the objective, and the cap will come out from there. So we are going to have to see how Imperial decide to cover that, as they are pretty far back off the objective, opting for a similar defense as what they had in that last objective. It worked well for them, so there's no, it can't call it out of it not working now. But it's just a little bit loose for my liking.
Yeah, and still just onboard radar as they work up here. You can see that they have Legel over on their right side, who's now dropped off of that second floor, and you have the trio advancing over on through the north. You can look at the overhead to even get a better idea of what this spread does look like, and it honestly kind of seems that radar is going to have the better access point up through the center. Tipic's not necessarily watching that top floor, and the duo that is there, Section 1 and Sigmire, I don't know if they have good eyes on the exit of that window. I think Phantom obviously can get good eyes if they go up to the second floor, but for now, BossFight are going to be able to set up relatively uncontested. Legel may run into something soon on their approach from the south, so we'll keep our eyes there. And some gunshots do come in over onto the north end down towards Scooby-Doo.
Yep, and I think this BossFight side are definitely going to potentially use all the time they can on this. 3 minutes, 15 seconds remaining. We're nearly halfway through the round. Radarhead has opted to take the South Street, and obviously they don't have the caster eyes that we have.
Yeah.
So maybe they're looking to open up the push from the north there as those guys get into their positions. Phantom Operator has taken a bit of a lower ground position there, so he's not going to be able to have that overarching look. We're going to see Legil also kind of pushing round here, but for the most part, just a very silent BossFight team. The M203 coming out, not going to land anywhere. Sigmire is a little bit exposed here from Radarhead, and if Radarhead sees this movement, he may just take shots onto him. Again, I think we've just got the fortune.
I think that ledge is just blocking the vision from both of them, really.
Yeah. I'm looking at it from like the zoomed in and
really
radar height.
Yeah.
Just about see Sigmire's head, but I don't think it's enough movement to warrant Radarhead to loop that way, so he is going to try and make this crossover open in the South Street. And for the most part, Imperial low to the ground. They haven't got the overarching loot, so I think a BossFight are going to be allowed to get in pretty close to this objective, which isn't something you want to let them do.
Oh, it is not. They have a little bit of suppression here on the north. Scooby deploying some smokes that Mikey is identifying on this north side, but this is really a good bit of methodical pushing here. Radar really getting some good opportunity to clear this objective space, and Archer could very well be pushing to the objective soon enough. Nope, not Mikey. Does rotate out of their position into a new building, a new angle they take up as Scooby deploys more smokes. Big rotations there that go undetected.
I've got a lot of smokes on the objective, which I think was just having its effect there, but Phantom Operator spots the movement from Legil, takes him out. Radarhead going to try and get the refrag. Not able to land those shots, gives away his position. Sigmire and Phantom Operator going to be looking for this kill. Tippett comes up from the back, takes him out,
Archer.
But the smokes are still on. Archer on the objective with his tablet out. He could be getting the tap. 55 seconds, and nobody's spotted it. Tippett hasn't peeked around, and there's the cap. Oh! Tippett didn't push out far enough to be able to see the movement. He just covered that central area, and that's just how quick it can go.
It was one of the weak points of their setup. They didn't have any elevation. If you noticed, everybody was on the ground floor. And if you don't have the elevation, it does become a bit challenging to see down those stairs. It's such a slight incline, but we've seen how slight an incline can adjust you seeing your opponent versus not seeing your opponent. And it ends up being enough cover from everyone on the bottom floor that nobody even sees that coming. And 2 points get punched in before Tippett can effectively defend from that position. And Tippett was never really in charge of even covering the stairs. They were in the basement for the most part, so maybe a bit of a late reaction from them, or a good play really from BossFight to draw attention from all sides and allow Archer to push up the middle. That really is what set everything up. Radar head, Lego on the edges, drawing attention. The North drawing attention with Scooby in the smokes. They really allowed Archer to just walk up to those stairs and punch in the code. And wow, I mean, that's map 1 barely into the hands of BossFight, but also firmly into the hands of BossFight. 5-3 there, the best they could do it in that 3-3 position. Map number 2. Not really a surprise, as it was a close quarters map on the table. Subway is where Imperial are going to take BossFight and challenge them in a duel of Subway knowledge that I don't know they will be ready to win. BossFight certainly know they're not. This map's been around for a long time. It's been around, I think, since the launch of the game. Albeit it's gone through several iterations, but that means that BossFight had played this map for 5 years. So again, we are really testing, I guess, quote-unquote new blood, although they have experience in the league already, versus some of the more veteran here with BossFight and Imperial on this map. And I'm excited to see what Imperial are going to try and throw at BossFight, how BossFight may try and counter the counters, the mind games that go into a map like Subway certainly do get numerous, and there's plenty of different strategies that have developed over time to approach these objectives from all sorts of different angles. So we're seeing a great duel so far, and I don't anticipate that to change, Jamie.
No, and Subway for me wouldn't be a map that I would personally want to play against BossFight. I've tried it myself in the past on teams where, we thought actually Subway is our map. You've gone to play it against BossFight, and they do just know the map. Yeah. They did have the benefit from a couple things like, say, the shield. We don't have the shield now, which definitely changes how you play Subway, as that was an integral part for a lot of pushes. So, but the first objective going to be the northern objective. Like you were saying, this map been around since the dawn of time. BossFight have definitely attacked and defended this objective a lot. Yeah. So Imperial going to have to bring something that BossFight have not seen before to be able to get this. I don't think we're going to see BossFight allowing the cap from around the corner. Pushing down the north stairs. Yeah. So I think
I will say, though, there are some very good north stair pushes these days. I love seeing the M203 smoke grenade coming into play on this north side. It's one of the newer strategies that's been devised. I've seen it deployed by BossFight, so we very well could see them go for the cap. And, again, if you can effectively blitz the defense, you can open up opportunities on a map like Subway, even against a team like BossFight, for a cap. But to your point, it's going to be unlikely that if BossFight start to lose control of the north, that they won't have rotations already in place. So let's see what we get as we get into the action for round number 1 on map number 2. BossFight take the lead on map 1, 5-3, but now go to Imperial's map choice, and so we'll see how much that impacts their success. They don't detect the C4 placement. Mikey is able to blast past it. Tippett shuts it down before it gets detonated, and now Mikey is up in the face of the defense with no C4 support on the backhand.
Yeah, this is a very aggressive push, and this is just one of those things you sometimes have to do it. Good. Oh, the nade takes out 3. Was it 3? 2? I thought there was a third there. Maybe
confirm, I think.
But Radiohead is only down though in the corner, still going to be able to get call out. Scooby's got to provide cover from these stairs, and it does become a bit of a challenge. You can hold it pretty well though, so the smoke's going to have to come out, and we are seeing the southern approach as well to be able to just keep Archer and 24 Grey distracted, and it looks like Imperial really are going for this cap right now. They are trying what they can. The nade comes out to finish off Radar Head, so he can't get those callouts. Scooby got to hold this line of sight onto the stairs. And oh, but the South's coming out now. Phantom Operator takes out 24 Gray, moving in. This attack is looking brilliant. Archer being the only defender on the South here in a good position, but he's got to move in at some point.
Yeah, Scooby also doesn't have the tightest angle. They actually couldn't see if Tipic were to walk down the stairs against the wall. Now, as they peek out, they can. But if they hold this angle they're holding now and don't check periodically on the inside stairwell angle, there could be a cap opportunity present for Imperial. Archer is essentially trapped with Phantom and now Siegmeyer eventually rotating. Archer doesn't have the option to rotate to the objective, and he has to also hold against the potential push from Phantom, as they may very well try to cap as Scooby holds that line. And so there's a lot of potential cap opportunities here for this offense right now. They've really set themselves up nicely off the back of what was great nades, but also great awareness from Tipic to deny the C4. It literally would have been a complete reversal with 3 dead from Imperial if Tipic didn't pick up that C4 in the corner.
Yeah, that was just great sight. I don't like sights, really. Scooby with a great pick onto sections. He's crawling down those stairs, leaving Tipic on his own. Nope, not Mike. He is bringing up the rear, and Archer being tested a little bit by the sounds of it, unless it's Sigma just kind of, yeah, he's just pre-firing, isn't he? But he's going to come around the back of Archer, though. So we're going to get the sandwich effect now. Archer has heard the movement, so gets picked off from the back, and that's it. We're down to Scooby, who can't cover the south of the objective. Has to push in, either go down or try and find another spot. Tipic, watching this, does pick him off. And Imperial, just like that, getting the first, well, Marthot win for map number 2.
That was a very good, very nicely coordinated Imperial team. And it didn't seem like we even really saw that kind of coordination on Quarantine from them. You know, that just seemed like they had the surrounding, they surrounded the objective and they pushed together at the same time. They found the kills they needed. They had great utility use. Just, you know, I guess Imperial did play well on Quarantine, certainly, but that just seemed like a little touch more coordinated. And that's the kind of push I'm talking about, where you can overwhelm even a defense like BossFight if you suddenly can chip away. The one thing they could have done differently, again, the strategy I really like to see, is you don't have to challenge that defender in the back corner prone. You can simply take your M203 and launch it to the front of that hallway and deny vision to everyone that's back. It's a really good smoke play that, again, I think we'll see this next round from BossFight. The only way we won't see it is if they don't decide to push from the north. But that would have essentially netted Imperial the cap opportunity, because nobody was rotating to defend from that wall. Blind Fire may have netted some kills from Scooby. They had the LMG, so that certainly is a risk you take when you smoke, and so maybe they didn't want to take that risk. Ultimately, they get the kill, so what do I know on strategy? You know what I mean? But still, just a thought, a strategy I've seen deployed that I have seen net success several times. And so, regardless, Imperial off to the races. Off of losing 5-3, Jamie, can't get a much better start than that.
No, and it's great to see that, you know, that hasn't put any hindrance in how they are playing. They're still playing this like that very first round. So as long as they can keep that momentum going and just go into these next rounds with that confidence, I think they could definitely potentially come out on top for this map. We are going to see a bit of a slower push from BossFight as they approach in. The flashes are going to come out, not going to quite find their mark. Archer just being a bit reserved on this push, waiting for Scooby to go around the corner first. The smoke has come out, so that's blocked Tipic's vision. And another nade comes out, gets Nope Not Mikey at the bottom of the stairs, and this is the LMG fire that you were talking about. Archer bringing up the rear and just putting fire straight down. Tipic has to take cover. Scooby just getting ready to push in and take the see what he can do.
And you know, this M203 was shot vertically into the air for it then to drop down on the other side of the wall. That's how they got this smoke over onto this side here so early. really a great play that sets up those smoke kills. Phantom does get the res, but they lose another one with Radar Head
The one's on the
scooping up
objective.
Section 1. They actually have no on-objective defenders. Phantom's down.
He is. Legil got a great nade straight down to the bottom of the stairs, and I don't think Imperial's going to be able to rotate in quick enough. Segmire's coming in, but it's going to be too far. You only need 2 seconds to cap. Legil is well versed in doing this. He's remembering the code. He didn't know it before. That could be the problem. Oh, Radar Head taking Segmire out on his rotation in. It doesn't matter though. BossFight do take that point, and it's still a win at the end of the day.
I mean, barely. Fortunate that Radar Head got that kill, really, for Imperial. And it's interesting, we were hovering over that corner. I didn't hear a single radio comm that the cap was coming in, because Radar could have not found those kills. He could have avoided those shots. You know what I mean? They had 3 with their tablets out. Granted, you know, another 3 seconds, and then that's all 3 dead on the corner. But still, you know, there could have been a little more communication on that cap opportunity. I think BossFight's happy that they get that Marsoc round regardless. But yeah, what a great play there. And again, just to talk about that M203, I mean, I heard it launch, the M203 smoke, and I mean, we know the way that thing arches, right? If you are sitting back here in market, there's no way that you can launch it like anything that's less than an 80-degree angle into the air to get it onto the other side of that wall, because of how it trajects. It's just, what a very interesting use of the M203 to set up a very early smoke grenade that you otherwise could not get. I mean, even throwing the smoke over to that side it would be a challenge, and you have to be pretty close to the objective to do it. So really interesting play there from BossFight, and that smoke did get them the kills and set them up for that opportunity to push the stairs. So I love it. Innovation after 13 seasons on a map that hasn't changed for maybe 5. It's why I do enjoy continuing to spectate and cast Onward, because you do see new things every season.
That you do, and you know, to add to that, it's the safety as well that I like about it. More often than not, teams Vault will throw a grenade over that wall down the alleyway, and if you played the like the beginners, they do get nades way down at the bottom. So BossFight have adjusted to that using the utility they have, and it's just great to see, like you say, after 13 seasons. So onward to the next objective, though we are having another outside objective, and these are some very, very quick objectives at the moment that we're seeing. I wonder if we'll see the market objective next. And we are seeing a very tight defense from BossFight. Legil covering the stairs there. Radar Head with the first pick onto Section 1, covering the overpass. It being a little bit aggressive maybe for this objective, which we have seen a lot of from Radar Head tonight, and it worked so well. Wow. It's a great pick onto Tipic, shutting down the overpass push. And just like that, I think Imperial are going to be a little bit hesitant on this push now.
Yeah, they've got 2 stacked up here approaching from the south, and I would say that approaching from the south stairs is maybe one of the harder angles to approach from, with Nope Not Mikey and Phantom down here. We'll see how it works out. Meanwhile, Radar Head has not put a pause on their aggression. They are actually advancing down the horseshoe, and I gotta wonder if they're gonna try and flank, and if this could become potentially a risky play for Radar. I mean, they are way away from the objective. Granted, they have an accurate kill count of 5 to 3, so certainly reasons to feel confident. But it seems like Imperial have kind of paused, with Phantom and Nope Not Mikey both sort of almost waiting for someone to push into their hands.
I think that south push probably was relying quite heavily on the overpass push there to be able to kind of split this Volk defense. You do want to try attack them from multiple sides, so it certainly has stopped this approach. Radar Head getting a little bit more aggressive. He's getting further and further away from the objective, which you've got to have that trust and confidence in your teammates to be able to cover the objective and not go down if you're going to make a push like this. And if Imperial are able to approach from the south, then the cap opportunity could be out there, as Radar Head is just combing the bottom of the basement there, looking for what he can. Surprised he didn't try and take the south stairs though. So he is going to come up through the market or the back alleys of the market and potentially come around behind Sigmire.
That is a long flank, one that does not go unheard as Sigmire tucks in, almost waiting for someone to approach from the stairwell.
My nade, I fucked it.
Comes down this time, it's a smoke, and interestingly enough, a defensive one. Don't know how that helps Archer in this situation, as it allows the flash or the nade to come all the way up into the corner. Archer's down on the south, and suddenly the south is open. Nope, not Mikey has control. Sigmire finds one. They trade here. It's a 2v2 in a flash. Imperial have reversed this one in no time. They've taken control of south. More smokes are coming up and over, and Sigmire also here. They really, it's a south versus north push right now, and Scooby and Gray are defending from the north side. There comes the swing out. Phantom catches Scooby from the stairs. It's a 1v2 with Gray as the only one left alive on BossFight. Their back is to Phantom in the south. What a push from the duo to revive this Marsoc offense, and they take another Marsoc round. We continue to trade these down Marsoc style.
I'm just flabbergasted. They keep doing this. They're on the back heel, and then all of a sudden they just find this energy from nowhere and just decimate the approaches. Sigmire did well to stop Radar Head's flank. I think if he had maybe looped and gone to the south stairs instead of gone through the basement, that could have been a very different approach. He would have been on the back of, nope, not Mikey there, and Phantom Operator. What I'm seeing is these turning moments. There's just one single moment that keeps turning the tide of the battle in favor of the opposite team. That it's like there's that moment. There was a couple of them in quarantine where 24 Grey had that shot which denied the cap. Tippy being able to get into that 1v1 situation on quarantine, and then you've just had that. There's just these defining moments where things are going, and then something happens, and then it turns around. You can't quite guess how it's going to go from the start of the round.
Yeah. And do bear with me here. A brief tech fix. Hold on. So we can get to the scoreboard and show you the overall scores. Like you said, it's just it's why I think maybe a reason why BossFight banned Cargo against Imperial, because Imperial certainly seems to be able to play a very aggressive offense on these tight quarters, albeit. That defensive smoke thrown in the south essentially is what lost them control of the objective. Once that smoke came in, it allowed for whoever was down there to push up the stairs and get the angle to throw the nade up onto the defense, and it then opened up everything from the south crumbling, the rotations that were needed. Really just a solid job there. Successfully take control of the south stairwell, and then to continue to apply the pressure necessary to get the win. I was doubting that south side, man. I really did not think that duo would be able to do much, and lo and behold, they're kind of the key element in getting success for the Imperial offense. And BossFight now swap sides. We stay on the same objective. They get a very different... Oh, no, they get the same spawn downstairs, but they're playing it very differently.
Yeah, we are going to see Legil Radar Head coming in through the basement and come up through the market. Scooby-Doo and 24 Grey taking the south. Tippy getting a little bit aggressive on this spot. No, not Nike. Already finding some resistance, and Legil getting the pick onto No, not Mikey after he kills Radar Head, evening things up. But Tippy is very far ahead, and the question is going to be now, are BossFight prepared for that positioning? As because of the spawn, he was allowed to get there, and he may get one or two before they're able to get into a position to take him out, and this could change things.
Yes, Tippy moving here may give away the position to Scooby, who is close enough to hear that. Legal, interestingly enough, not going to continue to... Oh, they're going to go and grab any resources off of their teammate that they can before than advancing up to the objective space, but it's also a pretty standard frag spot to put a nade into this corner. It is kind of challenging to do because you have the rooftop above it. So you can't lob a nade up over. You have to kind of laser beam it to the back wall. And even then, there's plenty of little things that can get caught behind that would keep Typic alive. But we'll have to see how Typic handles this, because Scooby, Archer, and Gray are eventually going to be crossing this line.
Flash comes out, Scooby pushes it and takes advantage of that, does get the trade, fortunately only goes down, so Archer going to be able to get the revive, and Typic has gone down now, opening up both alleyways, and it's not a position you want to be in. BossFight going to be able to surround the objective from all angles and just slowly move in with this equipment usage that they've been using. We're yet to, there's the M203, I was about to say,
where is it going to land? On objective, I'm guessing?
Yeah, perfect shot. Just wow. That is perfectly on the objective there, providing, you know, it's blocked out. Vision from the south, vision from the alleyway there. Phantom Operator virtually alone with a little bit of cover from Sigmire. So the BossFight side going to be wanting to push in there. The flash does connect, I think. Phantom Operator got to get back into his alleyway. Archer pushing around and gets the trade. Scooby-Doo now got to follow up.
A lot of smokes coming in. Section 1 has to rotate back up from the south, but Sigmire and Section 1 have control of the south side. It's a suppressive fire through these smokes. They really don't have a good idea of who's here. Scooby comes peeking around with the LMG, and suddenly there's a lot more bullets coming through the smoke than there was. Section 1 definitely split, but has eyes on the approach from Lego, or did. Lego may find an angle, and they do. That's going to be a trade, and BossFight, much like Imperial, come out swinging on the offense, snagging another Marsoc round. We continue to go down the Marsoc train, and well, we're just into an even matchup here this afternoon, Jamie.
No, right? You know, it's if somebody gets a vault round, then the next person gets a vault round. If somebody gets a Marsoc round, we're getting the next Marsoc round. You know, there's no there's no one team that keeps continuously going on with points. They're just constantly answered. And if Imperial can continue with their Marsoc win ratio, then they could take the second map. I was correct in the prediction for the next objective being the marketplace objective. So it's definitely one that is capable if you allow any pushes from the west, from the south, should I say. So it's one you've got to be watching for. It's going to be interesting to see how Imperial now approach this. They've done really well with this shock and awe and just get people in and around the objective and take the picks. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do that. But I want to see how Radar Head defends this objective, see what aggression we're going to see from him. Will he get the flank that he's been looking for?
Yeah, we'll have to see what we get here from these two teams, because again, we are just into a good, solid, even matchup between these two squads, and I'm very excited to see where this evolves to and what we get. But right now, it is anyone's game. We are going to obviously get a new objective, and like you said, that market presents a lot of different opportunities. And so what kind of spawn do we get? How do Imperial play it? Is it going to be a quick south push? And oh, it does look like they have the opportunity to come out the gate swinging here up through the south.
Yes, here. FMJ.
You blowing your load? Blowing your load.
They have been given one of the more fortuitous positions there, so they are going to be able to get a commanding lead into the in through the alleyways around the market, and BossFight being aggressive here. They're kind of abandoning the objective. 24 Grey going through the overpass, Radar Head getting up ahead, and Imperial, they're going to push everyone through the south.
Yeah, it's going to be that fast south push because simply they have the opportunity out of the spawn. Radar has tucked in.
It's a nice position. Wouldn't expect it. You're checking for the bins, but he's just behind that corner there. If Typic doesn't continue looking, thinking that it's clear and nobody's pushed up there, then he's going to get shot in the back.
Wow, he's playing it so patiently, really staying tucked in. He tries to pop out, does get one. And it's a full kill. That's the real important thing, right? I mean, if you're going to pop out, you can't necessarily transfer too quickly to your next target, because if you do, you're just going to open up the opportunity for a res while you get confirmed by the teammates. So good job to get at least a 1-for-1 trade there off of that surprise shot. Obviously wanted to get more, but I mean, maybe if they had waited a little, I mean, really no one saw that radar in that corner.
They didn't, and he could have probably maybe played that a little bit longer. Would they have swung round and checked it as more people came around? Potentially. So he saw the opportunity to get a kill and decided to take it, which, you know, got the trade. That's the important thing. We're down to 4v4, and it gives that knowledge to 24 Grey that, hey, they got the cell spawn and they're going to be coming this way, and how many people are coming roughly. So he's probably going to be expecting this heavy push coming from the cell side. We are going to see Section and Sigmire also try from the opposite side to split this Vault defense, and it's a very common strat to how you approach for this. If 24 Grey continues to stay as quiet as he has, though, and that smoke covering him, he could be on the flank here when the Imperial attack starts.
Yep, coming in with the push here. 24 Grey smoked out. Can't see in on this advance. And are they going to push up out of the smoke is the question. How long is Grey going to stay there and hold their line as Typic and Nope Not Mikey essentially advance past Grey? I think Grey's really going to wait until the backs are exposed here, and that patience doesn't pay off as Typic suddenly says, is shocked and surprised, but finds the kill on the stairs.
Yeah, that's one of those unfortunate onward timings there for 24 Grey. He had the opportunity to be able to get around on the flank and take both of them out as they moved. Didn't take that opportunity as he probably couldn't hear it, couldn't see it. The smokes, though, now coming out and the flashes. And very quickly, we're seeing Imperial surround this objective. 3-all against BossFight 3 also. Scooby-Doo covering the alleyway. And we're seeing a lot of pre-fire from Nope Not Mikey, just holding Archer back into his position. Another defensive smoke coming out. He's opting to try this play again. Typic swings around to get some shots into some known positions. No one's there, though. Archer holding this corner. And we're going to see a pretty heavy push coming from here. Typic goes down. Nope Not Mikey going to try his chances. Legil also covering the opposite side as Section 1's pushing in through there. He's staying very quiet, though, behind the bin. Going to let Section 1 come out in the open before he takes the shots. And just like that, the Imperial aggression does slow down as Nope Not Mikey decides to rotate to meet up with Section 1.
Yes, indeed. Legal playing it very disciplined, though, staying tucked in here. I don't know if Section 1's going to be necessarily ready for Lego's position.
Is one of those where you just need to get a check nade down there, but I don't think players take it often enough now for you to warrant it. It used to be a very, very used spot, and people would do that. So good to see teams taking it now. Legil gets the first pick onto Nope Not Mikey. Section 1 now going to be fully aware of his position, but could possibly be out of equipment here or not have the nade. So he's going to try and see if he can get the shots, but it's just an awkward position to try and get round. All Legil needs to be doing is just watching and waiting, as Section 1 will come into his sight line before he's able to get the shots onto Legil. So he's really got to think this one out now.
Yeah, and he's actually going to be backing off this approach. Has a minute and a half, but there's no real uncovered entry. You know, Scooby's got the far north. Archer has the tight angle. It is a nice defensive setup from these final three here, where they really do have all the lanes covered. And Section 1 is going to be heard by Lego. Lego should be able to radio in that these footsteps are on this lane. And Section 1, I think, is just looking for any utility, that because they certainly don't have any, but none of his teammates do either. They utilized all of it on their efforts trying to push this objective.
Indeed, and it's going to be a tough push now. Got to remain silent, see what he can see. Archer, though, is watching this, seeing all this movement, and you've just got to pick a side and go with it. Scooby-Doo going to try and poke out. They do know how many people are left, so they're going to know this is the last member. Scooby-Doo goes round, gets the kill onto Section 1, successfully defending the objective. And just like that, BossFight go ahead, 3 points to 2.
Yes, indeed. A solid advance here into their lead. And this is when Imperial are tested. You know, we finally get our first Volk round locked in, and now Imperial have to replicate that success.
that they do, but BossFight going to be well versed on this objective as we've talked about their experience on this map, and now that they're ahead, this is where all the stops are going to come out as they want to close down this map, go in and get their first victory of the season, and set themselves up good. But it's just been a fantastic game of back and forth really between these sides. Imperial really come out there, you know, and shown what they're about this season. If you let them have any opportunities, or if you do make any mistakes, they are going to punish you for it, as we've seen. So just fantastic play from both sides here.
Yes, indeed. Exactly what I wanted to have happen here this afternoon. We tuned into this matchup, you know, and I think I had advertised that it was going to be on venues. I do apologize for that. It certainly would have been a good candidate, a good matchup to be on venues, but instead we ended up not being quite ready for that process yet. I think there's some technical stuff we still have to sort there for this upcoming season, but we will be returning to venues, ideally at some point throughout this season, so do keep the eyes peeled for any announcements around that. For now, though, we're probably going to continue on with our regular scheduled broadcasting on these channels, these being Onward_VRML 2 and 3. Obviously, venues broadcasts get put over onto twitch.tv/VRMasterLeague, so you have to be tracking all of it, essentially. The best way is to follow the Twitter. If you follow the Onward_VRML Twitter, you'll get all sorts of, well, not all sorts of, but you will get notifications on when games go live and on what channels. So it's going to be one of the better ways to stay plugged in on all of the live action. Speaking of, back into it we go. Imperial on the defense here for round number 6 on map 2.
And every game so far, they've all just been fully action-packed. The MMR this season really has been adjusted well. You know, the majority of teams are just that evenly matched, and it's you don't want to miss a cast because so many games are just like this. It's the back and forth, and we are going to see early on BossFight getting that pick onto section 1 as he pushes down and tries covering the stairs there. Radar Head, though, only down, like you said earlier, you don't want to try and get that down, but Sigma are going to get the confirm as Radar Head does call out the kill there, and reminiscent of other rounds, we're down to a 4v4 within the first minute. Scooby-Doo and Legil trying to cover this northern approach, as we do see Archer and 24 Great take the southern approach. Imperial being very reserved on this defense, very tight, keeping it kind of somewhat close, minus the person in the alleyway. Typic has placed a flashlight here to try and block any vision of him. It's going to be interesting to see if that has an effect on anyone pushing around this corner, or if it just gives away his position.
Yes, indeed. Trying to figure out, put some pre-fire, assess if there's anyone over in that corner. You can see Phantom does reveal their position. That was the fakest death cry I've ever heard from Gray. Oh, man. Chaos, JB.
Indeed, as 24 Gray's taking the mic there, he does get shot by Phantom Operator. All the irony, and we'll see Typic try and get some picks onto Marsok Attacker there, takes him out, shuts down this southern approach, and Imperial now looking very strong for this round. 4 players up against BossFight's 2. Legil and Scooby gonna have to split this defense basically on their own.
Yes, indeed. Lego does approach and gets C4'd. No hope of progressing there. Sigmar is going to pop out and deny any res opportunity.
Scooby has opted to try and take the basement and potentially going to come up maybe from the north? Or is he going to come up through the overpass? As if he comes up through the overpass, which he is, he's going to come into this Phantom Operator Typic duo, which have shut down this approach already. So they're going to be ready and prepared to do it again. And Imperial, this defense is just looking rock solid. BossFight trying to poke and prod, but they're just giving nothing away.
Yeah, absolutely getting denied entry here. And Scooby now really just trying to figure out what the heck they should do in this 1v4 scenario. Going to be a tall order, to say the least, but not insurmountable, especially in a game like Onward. you know, you never can count out the 1v3s, the 1v2s. I mean, heck, we've seen a couple of 1v3s come very close in this series already. So here's to say it's not in the cards right now, but definitely a tough objective to be pushing on alone and with no utility. But yeah, well, maybe he does have utility. I stand corrected. There's a smoke still left in Scooby's arsenal. A couple of smokes at that. That might be enough. Oh, just kidding.
We do see Scooby likes to play these smoke strats. I think he's always got a smoke. Even, you know, I think it's going to become a meme that he's got like 50 smokes because he's just somehow pulls them out. He has these good smoke strats where he kind of inches them along. But unfortunately, the C4 just above him there, Tippy, hearing all that, is able to take him out, giving them the Volk defense round. And like I said, if somebody gets a defense round, the other side gets it now. So what's going to happen in this one?
It's hard to say because, I mean, really, we've had so many. It's only those last 2 rounds that we ended up having the defenses finally come together, it seems. You know, if we have a similar level of aggression from Imperial on an objective like this, there really is an opportunity for them to take this map away from BossFight. The thing is, though, is I think if they try and, I don't know, we've seen them shift up their pace on Quarantine. I wonder if that is even what they should be doing here going into their next Marsoc round, because again, they're winning off of the aggression, but it's moments like this where you really get tested. You know, do you stick to that aggression, because it is risky. You know, it is risky to play aggressive like that and go on the hunt for some of these kills and try and fly around on smokes and trust in your flashes and grenades, but it also can certainly net you rewards. And again, on an objective like this, it might be it could be what gets them at least an advantage early into the round. So I am very interested to see. I'm anticipating a very heavy basement battle that we'll see unfold here soon enough.
I'm going to go opposite and say I'm expecting a southern stairs push, to be honest, tied in with a with an overpass kind of crisscross, and we'll see, because we are seeing aggression from BossFight as well, where Radarhead has just taken random pushes and he's been getting those kills himself. But in a 3-3 situation, knowing BossFight could close this series out now, I think he may stay a little bit closer. But let's wait and see.
The full basement push. They got the whole team down here. Gray is positioned on the stairs. Could very well be challenging or try and challenge this Marsoc advance. Phantom already on the stairs, and Gray does take shots and does fly the corner to catch one, and they can't get Gray even as he pops out for the confirm. A huge bit of denial here. Gray still alive, still a big threat. How do they get rid of Gray in the corner? Is that a nade? No, another smoke.
I think it was another smoke, but was this a defensive smoke from Gray? Because if it was, that was fantastically placed, really. Just great bit of intuition, really, knowing that, you know, people are going to probably maybe push through the basement, so provide yourself a little bit of cover and don't push down. Just a fantastic little bit thought there, Scooby-Doo, with a great pick on to Tippy and Sigma here. And, just like that, we are down to this basement defense now. Scooby-Doo could possibly come in for the flank as he's getting the callouts from 24 Gray that people are still here. So we could see the flank close this out and give BossFight the the second map.
Yeah, the second map, the series. It all comes down to the duo for Imperial, and we've seen duos find success in this Imperial squad. Gray goes down. Section 1 does find a kill. They are damaged, though, and will be able to be instantly killed in the next bullet that hits them. So at a little bit of a disadvantage, and what could be a quick challenge is Lego here, and Lego's going to win that one.
Yeah, those duos certainly can do work, but on a map like Subway, it's tough. Nope, not Mikey now on his own, having to go through the basement, and just like that, it's definitely become difficult. The Jill's moved into a very good spot to be able to cover this exit. The smoke's coming out to try and deny the vision there, maybe cause a little bit of a distraction. Nope, not Mikey, moving up and down the stairs, getting ready to push out. Got to check this corner, though. does throw a smoke, so he's definitely aware of this position by Legil, able to get out through the smoke here, and this could definitely work.
Yeah, he's got to really tuck the back corner. Bounces, the laser goes over Legel, but it just doesn't see Legel in the dark corner. And what would have been the start of a 1v3 then doesn't end up happening. BossFight take that second round. They advance the series win. And we still obviously go to a map 3, chosen by the likes of BossFight, so I wonder where they'll take it. I'm thinking maybe Abandoned could very well be on the agenda here for map number 3, but either way, what a battle here from Imperial to stay close into this. And I mean, if they can take this third map, they're barely going to go down in MMR from this loss because of how close they are in scoreline in these first 2 maps.
Yeah, it's just been a battle from the beginning. There's been no point where either side has really steamrolled the other. Yes, we've had situations where 5 players on a side have been up, but it's not been an easy one to keep those players up. They've all had to do the work. Quick look on the kill feed before we go on next. And nope, not Mikey with 3 kills, Phantom Operator 7, Typic 5, Section 1 3, Sigmire 3. Then you've got Scooby-Doo 6, 24 Grey 1, Archer 1, Radar Head 6, and Legil 9. But there isn't that much difference in these in either side, I think there's been so many points where Imperial definitely could have come out on top there. Seeing them progress through the weeks, get more experience as a team, build up that cohesion, and this is going to be a team to watch, especially as we go into the finals at the end of this season.
I see the request for voting on the final map, so I'll be sure to be deploying that, hopefully now, if I remember, a round from now. But we'll try and time it up. Either way, we are headed to Snow Peak for map number 3, and yeah, I was expecting the range. I didn't anticipate us to go to some place like Suburbia or, to your point, Tanker. So no surprise that BossFight take us to Snow Peak. But like I was sort of analyzing the other day, Snow Peak, I think, is technically a close quarters map. You have 2 obviously very close quarters objectives in the east, but even the objective that's in the center of the map, I refer to more as a close quarters objective, because where the defenders end up setting up, you don't really have long angles that are held. There sure are some in the south on the objective in the center, but it is really a close quarters OBJ. And you end up having then really 2 long-range objectives where they are over on the west side of the map. And that's where our first objective of Snow Peak is going to be taking it. We've got BossFight on the on the offense with Imperial on defense, this being BossFight's map pick. Imperial picks side, and so they go onto the Volcan things. And I'm very interested to see how Imperial play this map, because we saw them do well on Quarantine, which is, in my opinion, plays somewhat similar to this. Albeit there are much longer angles on these more long-range objectives, but plays similar to the Quarantine in some ways, and I anticipate Imperial to be ready for Snow Peak here, because frankly they looked great on Quarantine and Subway.
Yeah, and like you say, it definitely does feel more like a smaller map in the objectives when it comes down to it, as it comes down to like sections really, as when the attack comes on. This objective, Volk aren't going to go too far away. They're gonna stay around, and I think the difference really for this map is you don't see as many real long-range shots or areas of denial like you would see on Quarantine or Downfall, say, where Mossop get a spawn where they can completely stop Volt get into a position or Volt can stop Marsok going through an angle, you know.
Yeah.
So it definitely may play into more of how Imperial's playstyle works, you know, like in those smaller maps. They were good on Quarantine. They're able to get those kills. So this is I think this is going to be a full-on battle from the beginning like we've seen in the previous 2 maps.
No more anticipation either. We do have a readied up 5-man team on both sides, but it's a little bit different as Stamp 290 has come in onto the Imperial end of things. BossFight not bringing in any subs, sticking with the same 5 that netted them victories in maps 1 and 2. At this stage, it does matter for BossFight to kind of pile on and try and take this 3rd map strongly, because they can then really gain that MMR to get them up higher in the ladder early in the season. So we're not going to see either of these teams pulling any punches, even though the series is decided.
And we are not. We are going to see Legil with the M203 still, so going to be eagerly anticipating how or where this gets used. Is it a smoke? Is it the frag? And, you know, that's always the fun part of casting, isn't it? You see that equipment, it's like, how is it going to get used? So, as I was saying before we went into this, again, it's not an objective where you're going to deny a lot. Tipic, though, has gone on a little bit of a tear, though. He is pushing around and going to potentially get the flank on this BossFight side. Very far off the objective. Let's just hope this doesn't backfire in the way of BossFight aggressively getting onto it, as the cap could be open early on here.
An opportunity for Tipic to catch Gray and Radar if they come out the other side of the horseshoe. We'll have to see how this route treats Tipic. I don't know that it will be the right one. He continues to go on an even longer flank now. The rest of this offense is pushing the objective. M203 launches are coming in down into the objective space. Lego advancing closer and closer, and now finally a little bit of pause as Radar and Gray do advance all the way over to the north to eventually push down that north lane, I imagine.
It did look like Tipic got a little bit confused there with his positioning as he goes back through the tunnels, came back out through the horseshoe, missed the opportunity, though, I think, for getting Legil on the back. So he is going to be able to just push out and continue staying behind this BossFight side. But like you say, they are moving in and they're getting ready to start this approach. So Tipic's got to be listening out to his teammates and reacting accordingly, as Legil has got this long-range sight onto some positions. And this is how Snow Peak does generally work. The quadrant starts, Tipic with the first kill onto Archer, gives away his position. So he's going around for a further flank now. And that's the noise that BossFight probably were listening out for, is they know now Tipic's very far away, and this could probably change up their plan of attack very differently.
It's kind of odd. No one seems to be reacting, maybe Gray. But Lego is still kind of eyes forward. Now they are checking behind them. Scooby, I guess, patiently waiting to see if anyone is going to try and flank. But even then, he's not really looking back behind him. So Tipic could very well find another target in Scooby here. Scooby doesn't at least advance forward and get into some cover. They could avoid Tipic's detection here, and they very well might if they're fortunate enough to keep pushing this way.
It's that glorious onward timing that we talk about. You can see Tipic over on the watchtower, just trying to see what you can see. Does spot Scooby, gets that long-range shot. That is a very long-range shot, to be fair. Very nicely done. And that's a second one for Tipic now from behind this BossFight defense. And they're going to be kind of kicking themselves for allowing him to get there. But alternatively, having that knowledge of a very far-off defender can work in your favor. But Legil going to be doing the exact opposite, trying to look for Tipic, see if he can take him out. So Tipic's distraction may actually really pay off for them.
It's completely causing a shift here because they were going to push. I mean, it's interesting because they could still pile the north and know that Tipic is way far away, you know, in this south side, but they are actually going over to Tipic there with Gray shifting a little bit over to that side. And again, Lego watching the south, and understandably so. It's been 2 kills now from that offender, but still, they could have, to your point, played it where once they heard those shots, they just ignored it and kept going.
It does look like Jill now has opted to go back to watching the objective, but all this time is allowing Tippik to come back in on the objective. And if he gets any closer, he could possibly find himself another pick. Jill calls it out, 1 minute 15 remaining on the clock, and the approach has got to start now. Tippik is moving back in, and very quickly he's going to come across Jill if he keeps continuing with this movement, and possibly even 24 Gray. There's Jill. It's been fun. Oh, but 24 Gray is watching for the refrag, takes him out, but Tippik has done his job. He has caused enough of a distraction. We are down to 45 seconds, and BossFight got to get aggressive on this play, and this is where the mistakes could be made. When you're rushing things to try and get in, it's a long distance to the objective, about 10 seconds from where Gray is. They've got work to do right now.
Radar Head is still on this north rotation. Tablet comes out and Stamp is there to deny it. The full auto effect of that big mag that they had in there ends up getting them that kill. Radar not able to push up. Gray does find one, but C is there to get the other. And Imperial do take their defensive round with a very patient defense, waiting all the way down to those until 13 seconds left to take out that boss fight push. And also, I suppose, maybe an aggressive defense with Tippik connecting with 3 there on that flank.
Just a fantastic flank from Tippik there, you know. It caused BossFight to slow up on their approach, check for him. They ran down the time there, and I think it just put, you know, it just adds a little bit of variation to what they were planning. They probably didn't plan on any form of flank there, had an idea of how they were going to do it, and that flank has definitely just thrown a spanner in the works for them. Great play from everyone, and Imperial holding down that defense at the end there. Just great work from them. So we're now going to go into BossFight's defense, and I imagine we're probably going to see a similar defense, just keeping it nice and tight. Maybe even Radar Head try his own little flank, as we have seen him doing those in the previous maps.
Taking a look at the sub there, also connecting with the kill on the KD feed. So Stamp coming in and starting their round, starting their map right. Nice job from them, and yeah, it's certainly momentum into Imperial's hands again, and not the first time that they've had a lead against BossFight this series. So we'll see if they can pile on, maybe score themselves another one on this Marsoc round. That BossFight push would have obviously been, I think, so much more interesting to watch had Tippik not completely disrupted it, and really just a good job from him to prevent what was looking like a nicely coordinated setup where they had everyone over onto the north side, and they were just going to push down as a team from the north, and just not an option off of that flank. Back into the action we go, though, for round number 2 on map 3. Ooh, look at this quick spawn for Imperial.
Yeah, they have been given such a great spawn there, and it works very well for their playstyle. So Tippik able to take this similar approach as what Jill took, and Scooby's going to be the one to go for the flank himself, as he pushes very far out from the objective, sets him out into a position. Sigmire spots all this because of the quick spawn, though, so Scooby goes down, and BossFight now down to 4. Only defenders on the objective. Imperial going to be given the chance to set up their attack and work their way in on this objective.
Yeah, Gray's in an interesting spot. Not an uncommon one, but a good one that does give you a very late denial of crossing. Quick revive there off of Radar's down. Does get called out, and at least their location is known. Radar able to really do a nice bit of coverage here from behind this box, and it's going to come down to if Nope Not Mike can connect onto Radar to really open up the opportunity to push here.
Yeah, it's he is trying using the 4x there to see if he can see Radar, but Radar staying in very close to the crates there, and just not giving himself away until he really needs to. He's going to take those shots. Like you say, 24 Grey also in a great position, covering the entrance. Will be able to put a stop to an approach unless Imperial are able to get a grenade in on that spot. And we are seeing lots of pre-fire coming out into positions, back and forth, not able to get anyone. Sigmire goes down to 24 Grey, though. Nice long-range shot there as he's trying to approach him from the south side of the objective. And 24 Grey's position going to be known to Stamp and Phantom Operator now. Question is going to be, do they call that out to Tipic and Nope Not Mikey, or are we going to see 24 Grey get another pick from this?
Echo 4, Grey, keep your head down.
Very good spot to be in, but again, not an undetectable one. Good to be in when you have Overwatch like radar here to also prevent that north lane from being a threat onto you. Otherwise, Grey would have to potentially be popping up to checking that.
Indeed, and it's nice defense from this BossFight side. They're really providing cover well for each other, and despite knowing where Imperial are coming from, they're just holding their positions. Archer hasn't moved from his spot. He knows that he's just got to cover this lake, and it's just having that trust in your team to be covering what they need to be covering, and that's just the likes that you see from BossFight. You know, a team that have played together so often. You know, you just know if somebody says they're looking somewhere, they're going to be looking there and they're covering it. And that's a hard thing to get from some teams.
There was a guy on your right.
Tried to throw a smoke to Tipic and it went too far, and now Tipic literally can't get it without being shot at.
Literally on the right mound.
Really
Oh my god.
Goodness.
Oh my god. Guys, move of it.
Dropped his gun. Is going to be able to get the smoke. No, can't get underneath the ledge to get the smoke. Does finally grab it. Still hasn't been shot by Lego. Thankfully, the smoke that was deployed by Phantom is coming in clutch and denying vision. And now Tipic can reallocate that first smoke and their second one to bound forward here. Phantom has suppression. Tipic doesn't get that smoke up over this building. Cannot get it where they need to. Grey does go down. I'm not sure what Grey was doing there the whole time Tipic had pushed up. Oh, the smoke was denying the vision. Nice pickup there as soon as Tipic reallocated the smoke. Radar is still alive and kicking, though. Catches one. Phantom trying to swing around. Can't surprise Lego or Archer. They're there and defending. Radar scoops up another, trying to push up through the center. And now Nope Not Mikey is alone in a 1v3 with 2 minutes left.
I must say, there was a fantastic push there from Phantom Operator. He had all the chance there to take out Archer before he realized, but I think he was a little bit focused on Legil, knew where Legil was, so that's what he was going for there. Great push, could have definitely changed how this attack went. But like you say, we're down to Nope Not Mikey, who has got 1 minute 40 remaining. He does have the 4x, so he must know where the defenders are situated. There's been a lot of gunshots, so he could try and play this long game of see if he can see any body parts showing to try and get a shot.
Yep.
But I don't think this side are going to, BossFight are really going to give him those opportunities. You've got to really push them into those positions to get those shots, and it's tough on your own. Opting to take the ice lake here, which may be the best option considering a frontal approach on this objective. Really tough, you know, you're very exposed. So he definitely has played the situation well. It's just whether that 4x is going to come around to bite him on the back, but I think he's picked up a teammate's gun here.
Yeah, yes.
So we're going to... He's got a little bit of foresight there into what he's going to need, and very quickly going to come up to Archer, but Legil also peeking him and checking this angle. Going to be a tough push.
Has to stay quiet, and time is going to be a factor, although Mikey is timing this perfectly. With 30 seconds left, he doesn't need to rush yet. He can stay completely silent on this approach. Of course, you're going up against a very disciplined BossFight. Archer is there on the tight corner, and with the late peek, Archer is able to find the kill, albeit a bit surprising. Imperial can't get through the defensive wall of BossFight, and both teams take their defensive round, tying up map 3-1 apiece. We now go over to, again, the objective that I consider to still be kind of close quarters. With how the defense rolls out and typically defends. Depending on spawn, of course, you do run into action pretty early, and it happens, again, around these tight corners of these mountains, and we'll see the spawn is like for BossFight, how they play it out, if it's going to be that north approach or from the southeast or southwest, excuse me. But definitely a tough one to defend, Jamie. I don't feel like I often see defenses win this objective.
No, and this one's certainly very cappable. You have the issue of sometimes defenders go a little bit too far to the east and try and cover the garage as best they can, at which point they can't rotate in quick enough when the push comes from the ice lake and the hangar in the south, from the west. So it's definitely something to be fully aware of. But people in chat at the moment were 67% ahead on predictions for Imperial to take this map. So they've got hopes that, or well, they believe in Imperial in taking this round. So countdown is going, and we will go into that round, round number 3. Is it? Countdown was going.
You got.
Or am I going crazy?
No, you got false started there.
Ah! Gives us time to talk about this objective.
Yeah, I suppose, but the objective and the mindset of both teams right now is, again, Imperial still continuing to go toe-to-toe with BossFight. You know, I think saw someone in chat say, maybe it was Sri Lankan, this is a new team to beat on the EU side of things, and that's for sure. Imperial, to be able to contest BossFight like this throughout this entire series on their map picks and their opponent's map picks, it's encouraging to see, I think, for people that maybe considering jumping into Onward and are new to the game and maybe want to get into playing competitively. You know, it could be a season or two away from you being a top contender in the VRML, and you know, only into the second week right now of these teams playing and getting back into the swing of things. Who knows what their off-season regiment really looked like, if there was one at all. And so, you know, throughout the course of the season, we should see both of these teams really start to polish their gameplay. And to BossFight's credit, they also have been doing a great job of battling, you know, not allowing these round wins from Imperial to rattle them at all. And it's what I talked about earlier with BossFight being an experienced team. They're capable of, they know that they can bounce back from adversity because they've done it before. And so in that confidence alone, they have an advantage. And well, we'll see if that continues throughout here on Snow Peak, but certainly did persevere for them on Quarantine and Subway.
And I am just getting word that we are going to go into a quick timeout.
Okay. Very good. That means we'll be headed to a timeout as well. When we come back, map 3 of BossFight and Imperial. Don't go anywhere or you'll miss the finale to what has been a great series. We are back here for more VRML action. Appreciate you all stopping by and hanging out.
We are seeing BossFight having the spawn for the objective from the last round, the northern hangar there. So they got quite a long ways to go really on this objective, but they are allowed then to do what they usually do, surround the objective and get those picks. It's definitely one of the more fortuitous spawns, as it plays well to their to how they play, their play style.
Yeah.
If we see Imperial get that hangar spawn closer to the objective, that'll definitely play well to them. But currently, Imperial are on the defense, and they have a pretty standard defense, covering 3 people covering the objective, 1 person in the garage is going through the tunnels by the looks of it, potentially, and then we've got 1 person in the far south covering the hangar. So, as we were talking about before the timeout there, you don't want to be caught out being the person in that garage if the team go down on the objective. So, it's going to be interesting to see how Imperial react once the boss fight attack does begin.
Yeah. Could be doing radar. Already working up so close to this objective side. I mean, they could be throwing utility at this point over into that objective space. They also have a drone out here buzzing about, and briefly see in front of us, one of the harder things to track in game, but there it is, hovering above and trying to pick up information down into that objective space. As it goes higher and higher, it exposes itself more and more angles, and so they're trying to kind of keep it in between these mountains so that it doesn't get shot down by the enemy team, and at the same time still trying to gain any information they can. It's good use of that drone. Eventually, though, it does get pushed out and maybe should see Section 1. Section 1 might not hear it that high up. Does hear the flash behind them, though, and does turn around to catch Lego with a headshot.
-1, Echo 4, tunnels.
It was a good movement there from the Legilli. Stayed in the tunnels, so quiet. Could have potentially come around behind Section 1 and got the pick there, but the flash giving away his position did mean Section 1 can turn around and take him out as Legil tries to get the kill there. So we are down to 4 members of the boss fight, but no, not Mike. He gets the pick onto Scooby-Doo as he is out in the open and kind of running around this boss fight defense here. He could quickly end up coming up behind Radar Head. It's a very good movement. 24 Grey has heard the gunshots, gets taken out by no, not Mikey, and now Radar Head hears all his gunshots, try and get the pick onto Nope Not Mikey, not able to get a dedicated shot, gets taken down himself, and Nope Not Mikey just decimating this boss fight offensive right now.
Suddenly it's Archer all alone in the middle of the defense with an opportunity to challenge into a 1v2 on objective. I actually wonder if anyone's going to be shooting him here. Archer catches one. Tablet is dropped. Stamp's there, and it's killed from the hip, but Stamp trades on objective. That could have been a cap. That could have been a cap, but Stamp able to find that trade, and Imperial do hold on 2-1. That's the kind of move that Radar is essentially going for on Quarantine with some of those aggressive rotations that we saw. You can potentially thread the needle between some of these defenses that aren't necessarily ready for it, and, well, I could tell Imperial weren't necessarily ready for that. Fortunate, though, again, that it ends in a trade, and Imperial does take the point on that 3.
Just a fantastic play there from Nope Not Mikey to get behind the boss fight offensive and get those picks. We're seeing it from this Imperial side. Tipic did it in the first defensive round. Nope Not Mikey's done it now. It's as though they practice these kind of flanks, and it's really paying off well for them at the moment. And what better team really to try some of the strats out on than boss fight? So they're going to be knowing that these are going to be working, and it's going to be great to see how they progress with those strats and how they fine-tune them going on later down the line in the season.
Great battle back and forth regardless here, and again, Imperial continuing to find rounds against BossFight. You know, we'll have to see if BossFight can put up a solid defensive round here on the same objective as we do swap sides, but it's interesting to see that multiple players on Imperial are deploying these, or I guess both sides, excuse me, with oh wait, where did Tipic go?
I think he jumped out for Section 1.
Okay. Well, it's interesting to see, regardless, several different players able to, on the Imperial side, deploying that counter-aggressive strategy there with Tipic in the first round, and now Nope Not Mikey there. Maybe it's just what they've determined to be effective against the likes of BossFight, but it certainly has been working for them on a couple of different rounds.
Yeah, I think with teams that do have that veteran status like BossFight, and you've got to have something that potentially they just haven't seen. I don't want to say not seen before, because there isn't too many things you could do really that you've not seen before, but you know, just doing something that hasn't happened that match maybe. I mean, Imperial haven't really been too reserved in the previous rounds, but they haven't gone for the flanks like they've been doing in this Snow Peak match map. So they're throwing that little bit of variation to the playstyle, which is working very well in their favor. BossFight have gone the opposite. They started off with Radar Head getting all those aggressive positions, and now going more reserved, playing like the, you know, they are playing teams like beginners, and it's good. You know, it's got to feel good for Imperial knowing that you've put BossFight in that frame of mind.
Yeah. Again, this whole loss for them should be actually encouraging for them to be so performing like this so early in the season. It's good to see. And to the same extent, BossFight doing well to battle back a unknown and continue to, like you said, adjust their strategy in order to get them into a spot where they do start to take those round wins. Hopefully we're not into another timeout, but we should be getting into our next round soon, I guess. I don't know what the holdup is here between these rounds.
A lot of confirming going, and maybe that just shows the level of where we're at really at this final map. You know, we've been going on for just shy of probably over 2 hours now. So the I guess the endurance has to kick in. Maybe that's why Tippett kind of had to jump out. Headset issue with batteries, or, you know, just...
Or I think I saw in chat.
Yeah.
Batteries.
So it's, you know, it does show these games, if they go on for longer and longer, what kind of effect that does have on players. You know, we're going to have to now rotate out Tippett. Could have been the star performer, and then he's gone. And then you've got somebody else in who's not warmed up with the team. So all these factors definitely come into play here of how a team will play this, you know, a game.
Yeah, I am. I'm here. Thank you.
Oh, looks like we're all going.
You just have to complain properly. Put up a good stink, and then people will finally listen. I don't know. We're on a 6-minute delay, so you know. Anyway, into the action we go for our next round. Let's see how BossFight do here on the defense.
And we are going to see a gain of somewhat similar defense here. Archer going for the garage there. Scooby-Doo covering these little alleyway valleys, if you want to call them that. And it does look like Imperial were given the same spawn as what BossFight got, so they're going to be able to get into a position to be able to surround the objective, see what picks they can get. And the question is now going to be, are we going to see a BossFight flank coming out, or are they going to try to get these long-range shots? Radar Head does spot some movement from Section 1, not able to land those shots. He's not happy. He put an entire mag onto him and didn't land it, so... Yeah, gives out that knowledge, though, that somebody is coming across from the ice lake. So BossFight going to have to be watching that, and Legil is in position to do just that. And Imperial are setting themselves up to surround this.
QB, Radar, Gray. A little bit of rotation here from Radar to get back into this side, because like you said, they're anticipating this side to be a little bit heavier stacked, but there is still one over in that south end. Excuse me, the east end that is going to eventually rotate into the south. They are still holding their defender over in that south side as well, and so I don't know. We'll have to see what this Imperial push ends up looking like, but for now, going to be a bit of time before we do see anything unfold, as they're going to have to push out of the horseshoe or go all the way down to the garage. Nope, not Mikey. Has a drone out, trying to gain information. I haven't seen that drone yet, though, so incredibly hard to spot. You have to really kind of hear it, and as long as the drone is kept out of earshot of these players, then can be a very effective tool to assess where this defense is, and a lot of them are pretty out in the open, would be easily identified by a drone if it hovered over them.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the biggest advantages to the drone, especially for this map, because a lot of these objectives, except for the one inside the tunnels, they're very, very out there and Volk are very exposed. So good drone usage will easily be able to identify the majority of Volk positioning. So a good drone user on this map is definitely worth their salt. And we are still seeing Imperial in the setup phase for this plan as they make sure that nobody from BossFight has tried pushing out and getting a little bit aggressive, but they're not gonna get that, and we just got to see how reserved BossFight can be and just hold their positions and just hold their lanes and just pick off the Imperial offensive as they push in. Some gunshots from 24 Grey as he is seeing movement, but not going to land his shots onto the tunnel. Phantom Operator trying desperately to see if he can see him. But 24 Grey has moved just back behind these crates, so he's going to stay safe for now. But as he moves around, Phantom Operator going to be watching for this. 2 minutes 40 remaining. He has a lot of time to check.
So close to catching the shoulder of Gray here, but not quite getting it. And Gray did put rounds down towards Mikey, so they really do know that Gray is somewhere behind here, and it's just a matter of if Gray decides to peek out from that far corner. Archer does finally get Siegmeyer. They've been really waiting patiently around that corner. We were briefly watching Archer hold that line for what seemed to be a while, and they do finally connect. Meanwhile, the rest of the defense of BossFight pretty much set up and waiting for their respective pushes. We do want to fly quickly over to the south as Legel is here and defending from the advance of Section 1.
And this is definitely the hardest bit of Onward when you are on defense and the team is taking the time to get that attack set up or just trying to just draw you out. It becomes that game of endurance. Who can hold their positions better and who can just stay the most conformed. Legil gets a pick onto Section 1. Down to 3 now for Imperial, and I think that is the south kind of cleared now, so Legil should be pretty safe in his position and able to just continue watching there and be able to provide some backup as and when is needed. The rest of the push now coming out of the tunnels, going to meet Archer very shortly, who has held this position for a very long time now.
Has the call out that he's rotating back, though. Does catch Operator. Stamp doesn't know Archer's on the backside. Can't connect with the LMG fire. Now some utility coming in from Archer to try and deny vision onto Stamp. That flash might connect. No, that block likely divine vision. They have support over the top from Radar Head, so Archer doesn't necessarily need to peek out. And with Gray killing Mikey, they should have an accurate kill count. That Stamp here is the last one left alive for Imperial.
Just a solid defense from BossFight. Like we were talking about, this can be one of the harder objectives to kind of approach and get your Marsoc attackers in, as Volk are pretty much sat around the objective, and Archer's really holding this position well. Radar Head providing some cover. The trade does come out there as Archer and Stamp are giving each other a little bit of banter, and BossFight going to be the victors for that round.
Indeed they are. They take that W, and we take a quick look at the KD feed. Try and get all tied up, and I mean the trend continues throughout this series, right? Of this battle between these two teams being close, and like you said, just a solid hold from BossFight out the gate, really denying any sort of movement over onto the east side. And now we have, well, I guess two close quarters objectives and one over on the east left available here, and we are headed over towards the box for our next objective placement. And I'm expecting us to trade bulk rounds here and take it to a 3-3 where who knows where we go. Does it in that open range objective, or does it go into the tunnels? That becomes the question, but maybe we get a Mars. I don't know. It's depends on if we see more of that aggression on the defense and if that aggression ends up getting shut down at all.
Yeah, this objective certainly can go one of two ways. You know, it's definitely going to play well into BossFight's playstyle, as you can only surround it through the four entrances into the building. So BossFight going to be looking to utilize that. I know they're well versed on this objective. They've definitely capped it many times in the past, and they do have strats for it. That M203 smoke going to be crucial, I think, here, and we may see that if Legil is able to get close enough to the objective.
Take a gander at the KDs. We show them up here for your eyes. Feast upon. Round number 5 unfolding here as we dive into the action. See how Imperial holds this one down. C4 tossed up. Properly defend against the entry point through the doorway. Have to see how BossFight decide to deploy on offense.
They have been given the quick spawn here. The drone going out from Scooby there now, all the way from the north, going down the alley, going down the valleys just to see if any Vault defenders there have pushed out. Not going to see any of them, so the next course of action is probably going to be to try and move into the building. So he's going to be able to give that information to Archer, who's going to be able to push up pretty safely now and get into a position to just watch the objective. Imperial very tight on this, only one player off covering the tunnels, so very standard defense here, not trying to give away any cap opportunities. So Note on Mikey going to have to be watching and listening to what's going on in order to rotate back in. And Archer going to probably be the first person to come under fire, as Sigmire is watching this entryway pretty heavily.
He just flew a drone into the periscope.
A little bit pre-fire from Nope Not Mikey there. Gives away his position. Not spotted anyone though. Sigmire does let Scooby and Archer cross here. And they're going to try and go through this tunnel now. So Nope Not Mikey got to defend. Legil behind him though. Takes him out. And just like that, the tunnels are now open for the push.
Radar gonna see if he can grab any utility. I think there is a flash or two there. Otherwise, I wonder what the plan is. Are they going to reconnect all outside? Or is there going to be an effort to push in through the tunnels as well while they coordinate their efforts and hit it from all angles? That's, in my eyes, the best strat, but it's the hardest to execute, so not a lot of teams end up going for it.
Not yet, not yet, not yet.
And one of the key things is definitely getting those smokes through the doors in on the objective and just cause some confusion there. There's so many boxes in the objective area that there's a Vault defender to check everything. It's definitely full of panic. So BossFight going to be using that to their advantage if they can push in here. Sigmire is covering this entryway really well, so any movement from Archer or Scooby as they get closer to that door is going to be met with bullets. And the question is going to be how they are going to take him out, as Stamp is also sat in that corner providing a little bit of backup.
Smoke comes in.
Well
Good.
placed.
That's going to deny vision there on that door.
So now the pre-fire comes out, giving away the knowledge that somebody is watching that doorway. Very nicely placed though, so Archer able to just push around and check this other door and meet up with 24 Grey.
Outside's clear.
Who's waiting to push in, getting the call outs that outside is clear, so you know you can get a little bit closer without any issue there. And slowly but surely, this BossFight offensive is coming to a head. Legil about ready to push in. Trades with Citadel, gets killed by Sigmire, should I say, and that's going to be a crucial pick, as that's one less entry that you now need to be covering. And Imperial doing well to just stay in their positions and not kind of panic and just let BossFight come in and try and get the picks when they do.
Good smoke placement's going to be key. That nade does force a rotation from C, which gives Scooby the opportunity to find the kill. Stamp dumping suppressive rounds out in through the smoke with that drum round. Meanwhile, Archer's tablet out on objective. Section 1 doesn't see this, and they cap.
Section
Oh,
1
no!
killed himself, giving 2
Yeah.
points away.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Oh, oh no! I mean, good for
Wow.
BossFight. Well,
I think that may be the first time I've seen that. Oh, no, it's definitely happened before on accident, but yeah, that's what happens. If you're the last defender alive and you kill yourself, then you get 2 points to the opposing team. Now, I think at the end of the day, that would have been 2 points anyway, because they had on it, you know, he didn't see the people that had gotten through the smoke and were capping. And maybe after the detonation that he could have turned to find the kills, but I don't know. They were already punching in the code. I guess, you know, what an interesting way to end the series off of something like that, but that's it. BossFight take map 3 4-2, and the end score line is, oh gosh,
8
12?
to
8 to
12 to
12.
8, is it?
Yeah. 8 to 12, so pretty good from Imperial to go up against one of the best teams in EU in their second season in the league. Very impressive with how they're playing. Great to see BossFight back in form with their full roster and snagging W's. And I am very much looking forward to more matchups between both of these teams going forward throughout the rest of the season. It's only week 2, Jamie, so there's going to be a lot more good games ahead of us.
Yeah, if this is a precursor for how the season's going to go, then we are just going to have game after game of just on the edge of your seat action there. You know, it's, just being fantastic to see this side. They only played one game in Season 2. Only played, obviously, one game so far this season, so 2 games total. Go toe-to-toe with BossFight. Get so close to taking the win there more often than not. So just going to be great to see these guys progress now.
Big shout out to everyone that was tuning in and hanging out. We do appreciate you all stopping by and having a good time enjoying what is some good quality VRML action. It really doesn't get a lot better than it did today, so appreciate you all hanging out. But that's going to be it for us here on the desk this afternoon. My name is Ben NightFiree 2Es, my co-caster Jamie. Again, we appreciate you all stopping by. Do tune in tomorrow at 6 p.m. PST for another matchup live on this channel. There's also going to be a handful of other games, I think, cast on Onward VRML 2 and potentially 3. So do keep the eyes peeled on all the channels. Be sure to follow all the channels, follow the social media. Until next time, stay classy.